You call me a saint, but you know I'm a stranger. All willing and able to do what you want. You think I'm a thinker, but I'm just a singer. All messy and pretty, just making believe. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Down to obscurity, don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. I control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself. I control, you don't know me. I am fading unfelt. Boy, you look worried, and maybe you should be. Cause this is a warning that I'm throwing out. Cause I'm the worst player that ever won't play you. To mix up sweet words with the girl's sanity. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Down to obscurity, don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. I control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself. I control, you don't know me. I am fading unfelt.
Everybody.
That was awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
Cool intro.
That was good.
How is everyone
That was
this
good.
morning?
Okay.
Oh, brilliant.
Good. Welcome to Hereticals, everyone. Tonight we have Jen, Godless Granny, Claire Bear,
Yeah.
Jenny, and
Hi.
Chesh.
Hey,
How's everyone?
full house.
Yes.
Awake. Finally awake. That was good music. I don't know. Don't judge me. I liked it a lot. It got me.
I
off.
liked it.
I did.
Raven outdid herself this week.
Yeah. Thank you, Raven. I needed that. I did. Thank you. Oh,
Yes, that was good music.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Mm.
So
thank
how's
you all
everyone
for-
today?
Sleepy.
I think we've already asked that, haven't we?
Are you sleeping? Yeah, we did.
A little sleepy. It's pretty early.
Yeah, it is here in the States. It's very early for us. Not like you night
Is it
birds
morning
over
yet?
there in Aussie.
Yeah. And poor Jenny, she was up late night doing Purple Show, and then I made her get up for this. So I'm sorry, Jen.
We went 3.5 hours.
Oh my god.
Oh goodness.
So if Jenny falls asleep during this stream, it's yeah. I'm sorry, Jen.
I'm excited to do another ladies' night.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been a little while. It's been a month and a bit since we did the last one, and
Has it been that long already?
it really has, Claire. It's been a little while. So
That was my coming out party over here, wasn't it?
we broke your cherry.
Yeah, it broke my cherry. Now I'm almost a regular with a broken cherry.
Almost
It's okay.
regular.
It's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And now
How are
you
you,
can't get rid
Chesh?
of me. Yeah.
You muted or something, Chesh. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Oh, but I know what you just said.
Yeah. I know what you said, but you're muted.
I heard that. You're muted, but I heard that. Yeah. What is going on? It's too early there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Danny.
Oh, it's not fair, Jeff. You know, he's just He's not that much closer to your time zone. What, 5? He's 5 hours different. It's not. That's not fair, Jeff.
Okay. Hey. Hi. Hi.
Yay, we
Hello.
hear you.
All right. Cool. So for some reason, Streamlabs today, not before, only today, just now, did it decide that it wanted to have trouble with my audio programs. But all right, sure, whatever. Why not?
No.
Shall we get my rant out of the way so that we can just have fun
Sure.
afterwards, and then
I'm in a
then we
ranty
can-
mood myself, so let's get the ranting going.
Okay.
Can I say hi
earlier
to-
this week,
Can I say hi to Jenny first? Hi,
Yeah,
Jenny.
go for
Hi,
it.
Jess. How you doing?
And
Good.
first, we have a super chat.
I'll do the super chat. Yeah.
Okay, $5 from
Yep.
Digital Demonic Davros. If you ain't first, you last. Love me some Bobby. Hashtag damn it.
Man, love me some Bobby.
Yeah. And Raven just $5 from Raven. I have your kidneys, Davros. So earlier this week, a certain, I'm going to say his name because I really don't care. We're in different countries. Not much he can do to me anyway. A certain Nate the lawyer made a post about made a post about the stuff that happens that most people don't actually give a shit about. Some of us do, but most people really just don't give a shit about the stuff between Steve McRae and Katie Joy Paulson. For somebody who's supposedly a lawyer, and I'm not saying he's not a lawyer, but somebody who's supposedly a lawyer, he really didn't understand what he was posting to make the statement that he made. But that aside, the thing that really pissed me off about it wasn't even that he made it, although it did after I'd read it. It was the fact that 3 people posted it to me in DMs, with one of them making the comment, "Here, look, I told you, look at what an asshole Steve McRae is." And I'm like, A, this post doesn't prove exactly what you wanted to say. B, I don't give a shit about the argument between Steve and Katie, even though I think Katie is a piece of shit. I don't care, and I don't want to get involved. And Steve knows that and everything, and they're fine. And I consider Steve a friend. And I'm like, don't drag me in on shit, because I actually don't care. I know both. Well, I don't know Katie's side of the story, but I fully know Steve's side of the story. I've seen some of the stuff that Katie's done, and I just don't care as it stands. But trying to drag me in on that was ridiculous. And to actually say something to me like, "See, this proves my point and you should hate Steve," is just like, fuck off. I don't want to talk to you if you're going to be like that to me. One of the people who did post it apologized for it and said she didn't mean to stress me out over it. And I totally get that, and we are fine. But the other one just really pissed me off. And the reason why it did, and I think I'll let Chesh take this because I know this pissed her off just as much as it did me, is the fact that they tried to use a so-called restraining order, or TRO, I think they call it in the US. Is that right, Granny? TRO?
Yes.
Is that what they call it? A TRO? In Australia, we call it
restraining order.
Yeah, over here we call it a VRO. To try and state that Steve had a VRO against him for Katie Paulson. The thing with VROs in Australia, and I assume it's the same with TROs in the US, a TRO or a VRO is not an admission of guilt on the part of the person who has the restraining order against them. It's an admission that the person who feels like they're being violated against feels that they need protection from somebody else. It doesn't mean that the person they feel like they need protection from has actually done anything wrong. It does not count as a sorry. I've gone off my train of thought.
I can jump in if you want. It's not an admission of guilt, nor is it any kind of actually injunction against the person. This is all like part of the automatic process. It depends on what state you're in, of course, but the state we're talking about in this case. It's not. Sorry, injunction's the wrong word. It's not a judgment, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Correct. It is
Thank
not
you.
a judgment.
Yes, thank you. It is an injunction. It is not a judgment. I got those backwards. Essentially, it's a matter of all of them are HROs. They're all harassment restraining orders. And what Nate's been doing is he's been calling a temporary restraining order, which is an ex parte harassment restraining order, taking the ex parte part out and just calling it a harassment restraining order, implying and switching these words around conveniently to make it sound like there was actually a full restraining order that was put through by a judge, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as if there had been a hearing when there had been no hearing. The plaintiff in this case, which is Katie, did not file for a hearing. Steve filed for the hearing, and then they reached an NDA before the hearing went through, pending other litigation, which was supposed to be a case that Katie Joy filed over defamation, which she never filed.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
This is why I try to stay as far away from this crap as possible.
Yeah.
I would love to stay away from this shit if people would let me, but unfortunately there's way too many people that are just constantly like, hey, you your dog. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Fine, I guess.
Real quick, we have a super chat from Darth Dawkins, $2. Hit the thumbs down because Jesus rules. Oh, Darth.
Oh God, you know, Chet, I hear
dead.
you I hear you when you say you want to stay away from it, but it gets really hard with the language they use or the lack of language that they use when explaining these tweets.
Yeah.
Putting that stuff out there. Nobody wants to get involved in all that drama, but when you see absolute misinformation being put out to slam other people, it's hard. It's hard not to say something.
Yeah.
This
and also when you're the one getting slammed, it's a little difficult to not be like, okay, but maybe.
Yeah, luckily that boss hasn't hit me yet. No, maybe after this week it will, but it hasn't hit me yet.
How is it that somebody in a different state can get a judge of whatever state to issue a restraining order for somebody far away that they have no power of enforcing? I don't get any of that.
Well, the restraining order gives you some rights that you wouldn't have without the restraining order. Basically, what it does is if you in this kind of a situation, they really don't do anything because for the most part, restraining orders just say the other person can't come within 1,000 feet of you or 200 feet of you. I imagine that there's probably something in it about phone calls or texts or something like that. But the big thing that it gives you is if the other person violates the restraining order, that gives you evidence for your case in chief, the case that the whole thing is about. And it's much easier for you to call the police and say, hey, this person is stalking me because they've violated this restraining order. Then the police can go and arrest that person for violating the restraining order. But like if they're calling you, you're going to have to call the police where they are and tell them and send them a copy of the restraining order and say, hey, this person violated this restraining order.
But why can they do it across state lines?
Because a restraining order isn't always about something physical. Like it's not required to be like physical danger.
An order from a judge is good anywhere in the country. It's not limited to just the jurisdiction of where the judge issued it. Just like if you had a judgment against somebody in another country or another state, you can still execute it. You can still collect money from somebody that you won a lawsuit against, even if they're in a different state.
So I don't know a whole lot about this situation, but what were the tweets that we're
I
upsetting
apologize for
everyone.
jumping off quickly like that, guys.
Oh no, that's okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I've just taken a huge couple of Panadol. For anybody who doesn't know what went on in the background there, I had a massive migraine just suddenly hit me in the middle of my rant, probably because I got hyper excited. So I apologize for
It's
that. My
a
head's
sign
bit
from
funky at
God.
the moment,
How
but-
dare you question Nate's authority as a lawyer, you monster.
Yes, Satan was striking me down. Yeah, so apologies for that, but I am really still kind of pissed off about all this, and I know you guys have gone on and Chesh explained exactly what was going on, but I'm like, don't post to me something like this to tell me this is why I should hate somebody when the original post is inaccurate and is basically a lie about what happened. It's like, what is the point in that? Because it is pointless at this point, and you're just going to piss me off.
Now, is
Just
this
don't
the
ever tell me
tweet
who to hate.
is this the tweet that is like his evidence tweet?
Yeah, Nate's
That's
evidence
like,
tweet.
okay. So for anybody who wants to go looking for it, me and Claire actually covered it and went through it. Like it was like nothing to go through. It was a big nothing burger presented as if it's like, oh my god, look at all this evidence. And so me and Claire looked at it and we debunked most of it in like 5 minutes. So if you go and look at my last Dumb Feck Friday video, me and Claire are on there and we talk a lot about Nate's misrepresentation. It's kind of weird to say because he's speaking as an authority as a lawyer, and he's very much misrepresenting terminology and what's been going on in the case. So, like I said, he is correct. It is an HRO because a restraining order and a temporary restraining order both fall under the umbrella of HRO in this case. However, he's being very specific to not specify that it was a TRO, and he's being very specific to not mention that it was an ex parte restraining order, which is the thing that made it temporary in the first place. And ex parte meaning, actually, Godless Granny, do you want to explain what ex parte is, since you're the...
Ex parte means it's only between one party and the judge. The other party was not involved in making it.
Which is why Steve was the one who asked for a restraining order. So somebody actually went through, he made this big post, and somebody's in your live chat, actually, an Intrigued Feline, went through and actually redlined everything that was like, okay, listen, so this is actually just incorrect, and here's why, and this is the claim that you haven't demonstrated, and this is a claim that you haven't demonstrated. So Claire and I went through that, and then we started looking at some of the tweets and what was going on. He got into ableism, where he was saying that he wasn't going to address anything that... that Feline was going to say because she won't come into I don't know their gender. They won't come into a debate with him because they're deaf. And it's like, that's of a good reason to not go into a live stream call, though. But they were like brushing it away as if it didn't matter, as if it wasn't relevant, and they were just using it as an excuse to run away from a debate. When I'm like, but what's
amount of ableism there?
And I was like, but what's the debate topic, though? Feline had asked for a fair playing field, and Nate went out of his way to say, to claim that it was ridiculous for them to want a fair playing field. Then I saw some poor woman come in and say, hey, listen, Nate, I'm a fan of you. Don't go down this route. And that person just got gaslit to hell and back and ended up apologizing to Nate afterwards. And I was like, what is going on? What world do I live in?
It was really horrible to read back, and then to have him point to this evidence from weeks ago, and then we go and look at it. And actually, I was if you watch that stream, I was a little dumbfounded that a professional could be that blatantly abusive in their own profession and represent themselves that badly. I'm a lay person. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a paralegal. I don't work in a legal office, but I knew the language. I knew all the language that was missing, and it was blatantly clear that it was misleading and misinformation.
It felt very manipulative, right? Like he's banking on that people don't recognize that he's left out ex parte. He's banking on that people don't know that an HRO is an RO and or a TRO. Like they both fall under that.
And when you're looking at the people involved that he's talking about, because he's talking exactly about Katie Joy and Steve, and at the moment, Steve is part of that law action against Katie Joy for defamation,
Yeah.
the timing for doing something like that is just not good, especially if you're a lawyer. You should know
Right.
better than making
Well, that's why he did it. He
erroneous
said that the
public
reason
statements
he
about
was
somebody who's involved in a ongoing legal case.
Yeah,
But
the
that's-
reason he actually posted it was because that litigation came up and he claimed that
Was
people were
going on,
asking
yeah.
him about it. Yeah.
Right. And that's what was so appalling about it, because here he is, he's being asked because he's a lawyer for his legal opinion, and he leaves out a very important part to prove his narratives. Like, he's backing into the issue by leaving this stuff out, which is just apprehensible to begin with. But when you leave out the term ex parte when talking about any kind of injunction, that's a big word. I don't know. I am not legal. Godless Granny could speak on that more, but that defines how that got put in place by a process.
They're
No
claiming
judge looked at it.
there's
Yeah.
two main claims, right? Because he's ignoring the actual discussion that's going on. The discussion that's going on is whether or not there was a temporary restraining order, because some people were saying that there wasn't, or whether or not a temporary restraining order applies guilt, as well as the goalpost shift, because of course they do, whether or not an NDA is an admission of guilt, which I think is absurd.
I didn't read
I
any
would
guilty
not
thing
at all
in there.
consider it unusual for a lawyer to do this, because that is exactly what a lawyer does. They take what they have and they present it in the best light that they can, leaving out any parts that don't help them and emphasizing parts that do. And
Oh,
it's
yeah, that
up
makes
to their
sense.
opponent to show that there's holes.
Uh,
Now, there's that strategy can backfire, because if it shows that you're being dishonest, now you've just destroyed your own case. So then you've got to think, okay, is it better for me to present my weaknesses and show why my weaknesses aren't really a problem? And that comes down to a strategy decision. That's not necessarily
I find it
black and
odd
white.
because he's not the lawyer in this case.
Right.
He's an outside lawyer. Like, I definitely understand from a courtroom standpoint why you would want to do that. But as somebody who tries to present themselves as an unbiased, neutral party lawyer, it seems to be that like you're going to shoot yourself in your own foot because you hate Steve so much. It's just like, because he's got people from his YouTube channel coming over to his Twitter and seeing him doing this when he's presented himself completely differently on YouTube, or tried to at least.
Yeah, I agree. £5 super chat from Godless Scummer. The thing is here, don't try to involve people who don't want anything to do with this. That goes for both sides. I want nothing to do with this myself. And that was my whole point. And what Nate said was wrong and erroneous, and it's just stupid and pisses me off to the point that you're interfering with an ongoing case to a certain extent.
This cuts to like how women are sort of treated on the internet, because like I'm getting roped into shit because I work with Steve, and I'm getting like, oh, Chesh lied to us about this thing, and I'm like, I didn't even know that thing. How could I have lied? I don't even have that information.
To do with any of us, it's like just because I get along well with somebody doesn't mean I know everything about all their other shit that happens, or that I even care about some of that other shit, because it's nothing to do with me. So posting me shit about somebody and not thinking that A, I don't know any of the backstory, or B, that it's going to suddenly change my opinion on somebody is just a waste of my fucking time. But then telling me it should change my opinion, well, you can just fuck off.
That's one of the things that I kind of touched on in my video a little bit with like the cyber harassment stalking that kind of goes on, because my issue comes down to people who want to not be involved that are signal boosting people that are doing this. I'm like, that's engagement, that's involving yourself. So if you're going to engage with and boost people that are like sexually harassing me constantly on Twitter, I think that warrants me blocking you. Like, it doesn't mean that I necessarily think you're responsible for what that person's doing, but you're certainly assisting them in doing so. So I start to take issue with that. Right. And like, I have like degrees of gray area where I'm going to be like, oh, you had a person on once, or, oh no, you work on a show with them regularly, where I'm going to start drawing these lines. Right. And that's a personal thing. Not everybody's going to have the same lines as everybody else.
We get those things about lots of things. There are people on Twitter and that who don't like Chris and go, we don't like the fact that you do a show with Chris every week.
What's wrong with Chris? Why don't people like Chris?
What is your problem, people? Just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean I don't have to like them, and you shouldn't be judging me because I.
Is it because Chris worked with Steve?
It's always just, it's always Steve's fault.
Listen,
everything.
The thing that blows my mind is it's totally fine to draw that line. If you don't like that people have supported with or worked with Steve, fine. Don't harass them over it. You can say, hey, listen, I see you've made this decision. I don't agree with you. Whatever, I'm going to unsubscribe. I don't tend to announce that until, like, there's some kind of extreme circumstance. But where I'm like, okay, you're supporting this person doing this horrendous thing, right? But in which case I'm being generally critical. I'm not going into that person's DMs. I'm not going into that person's live stream and bothering them about it. I'm just saying, hey, just so you know, this person and this person, simpatico. And that's more of like a, hey, listen, I'm not going to condemn you for doing so. I'm just drawing my own personal line. But I'm not going into these people's live chats. I'm not going into their DMs. I'm not sending them messages being, you're a terrible person. Fuck you forever.
Just brought up a good point in the chat of let's play a game of 6 degrees of guilt by association. And it is very much that. And not just about stuff with Steve. There are other people that you occasionally can be involved with doing stuff online and stuff like that. And people will just go, oh, you're dreadful just because you talk to this person. And I know other people cop that too. I mean, Steve cops it all the time, but Steve cops, it doesn't matter. Steve can blow his nose wrong and people hate him. So it's the way it is for Steve. But even for the rest of us, there are people where there have been times where I've talked to certain people and people go, why did you talk to that person? And it's like, because they were interesting. Just because you didn't like them doesn't mean they're not interesting to talk to.
There's certainly a discussion to be had about like platforming, but whether or not to or to not platform somebody, and whether or not to or to not platform somebody about a specific topic. Those are very, very interesting conversations. I'd love to have an open hangout talking about that sometime, but that's a far different conversation than you shouldn't have this person on because I don't like them, or you shouldn't have this person on because I say so, and I'm going to say horrible things about you because you had that person on. It's also sometimes it's reasonable to ask and be like, hey, why did you have that person on? Did you watch the video? Because that's probably the reason why I had them on.
I had them on, yeah. I mean, I want to ask Granny here, because there's been a few people you've interviewed lately who possibly would be considered controversial by some people in the community. Did you ever get any feedback from that maybe you shouldn't have interviewed that person or talked to them?
I only once, and the one it was on was Joshua from Vietnam.
Was it Steve?
No, of course, I've never interviewed Steve.
Try. don't do it. Don't
once.
Talk to Steve.
I've got to try again. I did try once. I also
get Chesh to get in for you. That's how you do it.
Yeah. I've also wanted to call into his show because I've got a question for him, and I just keep missing it. Because I go, oh, I missed it. What time is it again? Oh, I missed it. But anyway, the one that I got, I had someone comment on was Joshua from Vietnam, he's just a believer, and he's got kind of a fuzzy Christianity because he says he believes the Bible, but then when you try to nail him down on certain parts of the Bible, well, I don't believe that part, and I don't believe that part, and And what it ended up coming down to was he's got his own theology that he made up. And I'm thinking, well, why do you think that anyone should adhere to this theology that you made up? Oh, I didn't make it up. It's in the Bible, and the whole thing was kind of weird. And so people were, why did you platform this guy? And yeah, he didn't have a whole lot to say, but it was a way to get started on getting theists onto my channel. And I needed him to springboard to show other theists that sometimes I can be kind of nasty and sometimes I can be kind of rude, but I don't have to be. And if a theist is willing to come on my channel, I'm willing to be nice.
Godless, I think you should have anybody there for a conversation you want. It's about the conversation.
Exactly.
I mean, if they did that with me, I had Steve for an AITA, and I'm like, that is just talking about threads about assholes. Like, we weren't even having a serious conversation. And that is the only time I have ever received a complaint about an am I the asshole thread. And it was really not even a complaint about the thread. It was like, how could you have Steve on your channel? And I'm like, how can you even think that's an issue? I actually think I copied that comment and I hung their ass out on Twitter and said, why is this an issue? Like, wait, you used to be such a happy troll. When did you just become like this? Like, this is not, it used to be about issues, but what is this? But that's ridiculous to me. I mean, that goes along with on Twitter, like you get called out for liking a tweet. I'm sorry. There's some funny shit on Twitter. I don't have to agree with people to think it's funny as hell, and I'm going to like the tweet. It doesn't mean anything.
Aaron and I had a really lengthy, 3-hour conversation about just one interaction with some of these people, and it just went straight to misogyny. Just like, hey, I have a question about the claim you're making. And the guy's dancing around trying to not answer Aaron's question. And then his buddy comes in, sidelines, starts talking about her vagina as if that matters.
Yes, it ended with swinging vaginas. I kid you not. It ended with getting whipped with vaginas. That's what happened.
What?
Long story short, I'm telling you, it was.
Mind you, I've been in streams with you that end up talking about duck sex. So I mean.
So I'm telling you, he started off our vaginas against us. It was hysterical.
It started off with one of them making claims. I think it was about the TRO, and then Aaron asking for evidence about what they were talking about, and then got sidelined by, oh well, basically you're just a woman, but using just the word vagina for some reason, and then Aaron being like, wait, what does my vagina have to do with this? And then they went to say, oh, see, now you're using your status as having a vagina you're hiding behind your vagina, using it as a shield. And all I can think is Fox News and being like, oh, vaginas just have superpowers. They just shut all that shit right down.
That's a new superpower. But it ends beautifully. It ends so typically with, well, I know this is just your way of flirting with me because you want to date me. But I'm married. That's exactly what the guy, when he had no more argument, because he didn't have an argument to begin with.
Well, and then he was like, oh, well, you brought your vagina into this, and somebody fact checked him and was like, no, she didn't.
Chris hates us now because he's been demonetized.
We used the JJ word too many times.
We've got a couple of super chats. So, Darth Dawkins again. If atheists are cancelling you, come to Darth.
I should have Darth on.
Then Brilliant and demonetized. Here's to make up for that. And thank you, Brilliant, for your $50 donation. That is amazing.
Oh boy. I did not know that word would get you demonetized. I will never make a penny on my channel.
You know what's really unfair?
You and me both, Clay. You and me both.
You can say penis and not get demonetized, but you can't say vagina.
That sounds like some patriarchal bullshit.
Yeah.
That's this bullshit right there. Are you kidding me? I have to start emailing people. Who do I talk to? That's ridiculous.
Gonna try and talk to somebody at YouTube, Claire?
No, I said email.
Well, there are lots of other words you can say, like pussy. Well, we've been through them before in your channel.
Can I say quim? What can I say?
Quim.
Can I?
I like the JJ.
All I can think of is Dr. Quim, medicine woman.
What if we say it's a swinging woman, like woman, lady boner?
We can go. That'll probably be okay.
Little man in a boat.
In the old days. In the old days, when it came to language decisions and censorship and all that good stuff, you couldn't say something like pussy on the air because it was slang, it was guttural, it was repugnant to some people, and it was just not allowed. But you could say vagina because it's a medical term. And today it's flipped 180 degrees. It's a medical term, you get censored and bounced, but if you say something slang and guttural, it's okay. What's going
Of
on?
course, I mean, of
Language
course, a
is
lot of
weird.
these male executives wouldn't want people to say vagina. Most of them have never seen one.
Wah, wah.
In 60s TV, you couldn't say pregnant.
Right.
You had to
Wet
say
ass
in a
P-word.
family way or with
Oh, wow.
child, but you could not say the word pregnant.
And if two people were on a bed together, a male and female, one had to have their feet planted on the ground.
Yep.
Why are men?
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Why are
With-
men?
like that.
Why?
Why? Why?
Why?
That help the species keep going. That's about it.
Oh god. I do
Not
enjoy,
bad.
It's just
I
such a
do
shame a lot of-
enjoy the immediate jumps a lot of the time to stuff like, oh well you're a woman. And it's like, oh well you're a woman, therefore, and then it's just like whatever they decide they want to throw out there. Oh, you're emotional, you're freaking out. You're
Do you know what's
I made a
worse, Chair?
Yeah,
And I'm
go.
sure Jetty will agree with me. It's when it's not, oh, you're a woman. When you have a misogynistic man say, you're not even a real woman.
Oh god,
Yes.
I get that too.
Yeah, but that's only because of the anti-Steve crowd think you're trans.
As if
I always
it's an
jump in on
insult.
that one because
As an
you know,
insult, yeah, they actually use it as an insult to Chesh. It's
Right.
like, how transphobic can you be?
Careful, don't take that as a challenge.
Yes, please.
He's only 17.
There's a $2 super chat from Darth Dawkins. We need to bring back censorship.
To be
No.
fair, I would be I would actually wouldn't mind that much because at least censorship at that time was far more clear. Like,
Right.
here's the list you cannot say. Here are the words. Here are the situations that we will not allow you to show. You know how great that would be on YouTube if they gave us like a list and an explanation as to what we can and cannot show under which circumstances? That'd be amazing.
Guidelines, I guess.
Yeah,
Clear.
and
Yeah.
clear and actually evenly applied across the board, like not the way
Yeah.
it is now, where they're just throwing it at this one, but this one gets away with it. It's not.
Yeah, if it was like clear and stringent, like a lot of the broadcasting rules, like I think it's called the FCC in America. If the if it was like stringent and you could use those, I'd take it because at least with that you can find workarounds. You can deal with that. You can function with it. You can make changes to it and make suggestions and be like, hey, here's my argument as to why you ought to change this to this or why you ought to do this or this. With the way it is right now, it's just like, no.
The problem is that didn't work. You know, back when they used to have censorship of pornography, the Supreme Court used to have porn night every Friday. And
What?
they would, they did. They would watch movies that people had filed lawsuits over for being pornographic, and the Supreme Court had to rule on them: are these pornographic or not? And so Friday night was porn night at the Supreme Court, and I don't remember which justice said it. Is I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it, which is why they had to review all the films personally.
Okay.
But really, what it comes down to, though, is it was considered not pornography if it had artistic value. And so they were really watching the movies, supposedly, to determine if they had any artistic value. And if they did, they're not pornographic.
So is that why a lot of porns tried to have storylines?
Yes.
I like the word "try" in there.
Yeah. Well,
Did
yeah,
we
it
just
was
get the
definitely a try.
origin? Did we just get the origin story of porn as we know it?
We did. We're trying to see. This is why it's so popular. This is.
I wonder if the people on the, I wonder if all the men on the Supreme Court at the time considered Friday nights perk night. Come on,
Back then, there were only men on the
most of them
Supreme
are
Court.
most of them are older. It's probably the only thing that kept their tickers going. Now we know why the men last so long on the Supreme Court.
This is it. It's healthy circulation. There you go. No. Oh gosh.
It was a hard night.
It was. Well,
It was so hard.
I was waiting for that one, Jen.
If
Now-
I hadn't said it, you would have.
No, actually, I'm word shy right now. I'm literally trying to get him back in monetization. I gotta wait till it hits green again before I open my mouth.
That is not how that works.
No, I need some explanation apparently. 'Cause, yeah.
There is no like going back on a video. Once it's gone, it's gone.
yes,
So,
God.
so now it doesn't matter what I say, cause now it's over, right?
There's
It's done.
there's two things. There's limited monetization, and then there's completely demonetized. Most conversations like this will go into the limited category unless we start talking about things like I can't mention because it'll go into
Oh gosh! All of a sudden, I feel like
The
I got
O word?
duct tape on my mouth. I do. I just.
It's that YouTube stranglehold you're feeling.
I
Don't
do.
get talking about ducks, Claire. It'll never clean up.
Yeah, fair.
You know, that's following me everywhere I go. I try to have a serious conversation, and
You're
somebody's
welcome.
in there throwing ducks at me, Jen.
Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth.
No, I'm telling you, I'll own it. It was funny as hell.
I'm
You were the
I'm
one
gonna
who
find.
complained you didn't send any duck porn.
It wasn't. And then I got fascinating, absolutely fascinating duck porn. I got scientific corkscrew duck porn. It was good.
Yep.
It was
I
good
am
scientific
gonna
fact. I learned a
send.
lot.
I'm gonna send Claire a Mighty Ducks jersey.
But make sure he's not wearing any pants, so I can't wear it. I'm telling you, if he has pants on, I can't wear it. It's got to be the pantsless duck.
No, I'm gonna get bear on the back, and it's just gonna be like a Mighty Ducks jersey from the hockey team.
Oh, okay. Then
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can wear it with no pants if you want. So sure.
I will absolutely wear it with no pants.
There you go. You got
There you
it.
go.
You could wear it to bed.
Yes.
I could.
Wink, wink.
You know what? It might be the only time anybody sees anything but my avatar. I've just shown my Mighty Ducks shirt. There you
This
go.
is gonna be like-
that'll be my great reveal. My Mighty Ducks great reveal.
Mighty Duck reveal.
And then
I
with
think
how
that's
with how Ari ducks are, that might be finally a valid apologetic towards it. Look at what she was wearing. She clearly wanted it.
I think we've gone further downhill.
Hey, I'm avoiding your demonetization.
We're trying. I don't know.
You brought up the ducks. You did this to yourself.
I know. No, it was Jen. Jen did it.
That's what I mean.
I know. That's it. It's like I'm
You
a
can't have
victim.
Claire on a stream and not talk about duck sex. I'm sorry.
I
It just
know,
doesn't work.
but I know. You know what? It's becoming a whole big thing. I will never make a penny on my channel. Have you seen some of the stuff that goes on there? I can't. There's never.
Well,
you can't-
YouTube's not going to give it to you. The advertisers aren't going to give it to you.
We need to clear something up for Darth Dawkins here. We have a super chat from him, $2. I'm confused. Why does Jay love Bobby? He's married.
But both of them are, but
Man, love me some Bobby.
Because he's awesome.
It's a bromance for the ages. I don't know what you mean.
And Raven,
Exactly.
$5. I'm good with it. He loves who he loves.
That's it.
And
He
that's
loves
how we
who he
all
loves.
should be. Be good with whoever loves who.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And love can cross all barriers. It doesn't matter. That's why. Because he loves them. It's it. Just because he loves them. If you need
A
a
while ago,
reason
we
to
were
love
talking
someone,
about the misogyny that's directed at some of us when we are doing YouTube, and I think it's actually a good topic
Yeah.
to stick with rather than duck sex.
yeah, but I don't know. We could get demonetized over this one too. This is a hot topic. It's hard to keep.
Well,
Mm.
yeah, it is. So, I don't know. I mean, you and I, Claire, we kind of just don't give too much of a shit about what other people say.
No, we
and I
don't.
know
Because I'm
Jess is-
tired.
Jess
I'm
is
at
kind
an
of the
age.
same.
I'm at an age. I'm really tired of it, and I've earned
Yeah.
my right to be bitchy. Can't say that word
Oh,
either.
exactly.
One of the
we don't have
reasons-
time for their shit, to be honest.
One of the reasons I did the video I did wasn't because I'm terribly bothered that this stuff gets directed by me, to me. I'm not terribly concerned about it. What I got tired of, and the reason I made the video I did, sort of explaining my position on it, is that I was tired of other people having to observe and get triggered or upset or bothered by stuff that, even though it's being directed at me, there's collateral damage. There's collateral damage that goes on if you start going into transphobia, homophobia, ableism, racism. I'm not the one being affected by it, but the people on my timeline are. And that can come out of nowhere. Because just because I've got them muted doesn't mean other people do. So if I say something mundane, like, oh, hey, I'm streaming later, and somebody throws a slur at me, it's like, whatever to me. But if somebody's just scrolling my timeline who might be more sensitive to something like that, it might not be something that
An
they can
example
handle.
was when you cut your hair, Chesh. The rudeness and thing from some people directed directly at you, and the way they said it. I think it was Uni who started it off with
He did.
about how you were going full Karen now, and you were having a transition. So he was doing a double slandering there to put in this innuendo.
Yeah,
which was
I actually
trying to call you a Karen, which is. I actually really hate people calling people Karens because it's
overused.
They
killed it. It got killed. It was funny for a little while. Got beat into the ground.
Other side of that, trying to do that double slander, and then he tried to back away from it, but in backing away from it, he actually made it worse. I'm like, dude, why? What is the point in this? At this point, if you're physically attacking people for the way that they look and trying to put references to something else, which obviously you don't like and you've got prejudices against, then you are just showing everybody what a bad person you are.
I don't terribly. I'm not a big. I don't care very much if people want to say, "Oh, your hair's ugly," or "Oh, look how ugly Chesh looks today." Whatever. But when you take the extra step to start going into like my haircut is obviously not a Karen cut. Like calling it that just is kind of backfires because like it's stuff that you don't know what you're talking about, right? But the when it got to the transphobic comment, I was like. I didn't read it as transphobia, but the reason I didn't read it as transphobia, like, because I defended him, because I was like, well, maybe he just meant transitioning into a cult. That's the way I read it. But I was proven wrong. I was shown wrong. I was like, well, maybe he means this. And a couple of people who watch him regularly were like, no, he makes transphobic comments about you all the time. He absolutely meant it that way. I'm like, well, I don't watch his shit, so I had no idea.
Comments directed directly at trans people as well. So
exactly. So I wasn't actually aware of that. So I was straight up corrected on that, where I was like, I actually don't have a problem with him either A, commenting on the way I look. I don't give a shit. B, because I think that's pretty mundane. That's pretty normal tit for tat YouTube stuff. I don't.
Which is why he thinks that making trans type comments at you isn't.
That's where right. That's where. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. And that's the line for me. I'm like, well, if you're actually being like, because again, I took the charity option. Why? I don't know. That was really dumb. I should not have done that. But I accept my mistake and I accept the correction, right?
Jade, I'll let you read it.
Real quick. Godless Scummer, 2 pounds. I'm confused. Why doesn't Darth love Otangelo? Otangelo, yes.
He doesn't.
And Darth Dawkins, $2. Why do people keep asking me about Otangelo?
Because you two make a lovely couple.
It's the fanfic, my friend. It's the power of the fanfic.
We're all really concerned about you two.
We're all a slave to the fanfic.
I'm amazed we haven't made a name up for it. Like,
Doc
Angelo
or
Doc Angelo. Oh, that Darth Angelo.
Darth Angelo.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's because Otangelo's difficult. Otangelo's a difficult name to like splice up. How about Darth Tang?
Or Otankins. That's good too.
Granny, did you say that some people think you and Otangelo have a thing?
Oh.
What? Oh, because Jay said he wants to hear about Granny and Otangelo. But I have no idea what that means.
You have something to tell us, Granny?
Now I want to hear about it. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Oh.
Otangela has come into my chats a couple of times, but I've never had him as a guest. I've never been in a stream with him. I've never had a debate with him. So I really don't know a whole. I probably should. I've thought about it. The only reason I haven't is
you will need
to focus on
alcohol if you go
science.
on a stream with Otangelo. You will need alcohol.
Well, I would need him to limit to religion and philosophy because I cannot debate science. I don't know enough.
He can't either, to be fair.
I know. I would need someone feeding me data to, because you never know what he's going to bring up. And I could prepare for something that he says he's going to say, but then if he brings up something that's slightly off, then I've got to go do some new research because I can't off the cuff answer science questions.
Actually, I kind of have a question for you guys because I don't know if this really applies properly, but what's the benefit to even trying to debate Otangelo on the science itself? Because I tend to take a totally different approach. I take an approach of I deal with argumentation and be like, okay, well, listen, let's follow your hypothetical. Let's say that what you're saying is correct. What would we expect to see? What would we see now? So that's the kind of argumentation I go with. So is there that much worthwhile in actually debating him on facts?
Yeah, you can't debate him on facts because as soon as you actually try to explain why he's wrong about the thing that he says, he just goes back to saying what he was saying before and reiterating it over and over again, like it somehow makes more sense the second time he says it.
Yeah.
And even if you point that out to him and say, look, we've already debunked this, we've already gone through this and explained to you why you're wrong, can we move on to your next point? He'll still go back to it.
He won't do it, right?
Listen.
Actually, that makes perfect sense because that's what the Bible does. And that's his authority. The Bible says the same thing
a biblical
over
authority.
Right.
That's what he does.
And almost doctor is exactly right. He says, I tried... He just had no idea what my point was. Yeah, I get that.
We were listening, and it's hard to. Your guys are trying to have the science side of it be debated, but he has no science debate side to debate. Like he had nothing to counter with.
He knows keywords, but he doesn't really understand them. That's the problem. So he's read enough bits and bobs that other people have written, and he's looked at. He's had a quick glance at Wikipedia, which is nothing wrong with looking at Wikipedia as long as you go through and cite the real sources underneath. But he's just saying the words that he's read without actually really understanding what he's talking about. I liken him to Deepak Chopra in that respect. It's like he's plucking words that sound scientific without knowing what he's actually talking about.
And scripted, completely scripted.
It's scripted. Oh yeah. If you take him off, that's why he goes back to his original point, because you've taken him off script. He doesn't understand what he's talking about, so he can't answer it. So he just basically reads his script again.
Does he jump to the?
Doing a script.
Does he jump to the "you're a woman"? Does he have that condescending thing to him? Because I find that's a pervasive thing. I had that issue with. I actually have that issue with a lot of atheist stuff.
To be honest, he's not as bad as some others are in that sense. He is prepared to accept that you actually know what you're talking about, even if he doesn't understand what you're talking about, and he's still going to think that he knows better. He's prepared to. He's kind of prepared to understand that, and he doesn't seem to care about the gender of the person he's talking to in that sense. He doesn't make a judgment on that, which is unusual for a young Earth fundy religious person, because. I mean, he actually talked to me fine, and that was okay. Whereas somebody like Darth Dawkins would have just refused to talk to me. So, he's not as bad as some of the others, but the fact that he just won't listen just is insane.
It was frustrating to listen to, but at least he was, he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't just go derogative if he doesn't have a point like some of them do.
He is very repetitive. He likes to spam.
With the same thing over and over again, but he's not doing it.
It's even in his speech, which is the funny thing.
I think if he would have told Chris in the first one to watch the video one more time, I think I would have lost my mind, because that was his evidence, like something from somebody else, and then the one with the science with Matthew and Jen. That's hard. I have to find the humor in it. I got to give you great credit for not losing your patience, because for me, I'm just have to laugh at this.
Well, I didn't have to talk to him for a couple of hours like Matt did, so I was fairly fresh. And I also had Steve and Matt both there to take up the slack, which was a lot easier. But for Matt, I'm amazed Matt isn't bald now, to be perfectly honest.
I am actually quite impressed, and I learned something about Matthew there. He can roll his eyes quietly and indiscreetly, like no other man on the planet. Like, I was just watching, it was great.
Matt can say a lot in an expression. He really can.
It was painful to where his eyes went at some points was painful for me to see. I really felt for you there, Matthew. You could see, but you held it together. He did a great job. It was entertaining as someone watching it. You know,
do a good job.
Yeah, he did.
Shall we do dumbass tweets of the week?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Bring it on.
We have some funny
Bring it on. Today. We have some good ones. We always have good ones.
That's very true.
I think I was bothered.
I just have to say, how rude Jay or Chris, whoever did that, cutting Claire off mid-sentence like that. I mean, the misogynistic attitude of you guys.
That's right. And he wonders why he's trending at number 8 in the asshole category. I'm telling you,
this is what happens when people are running the show and we're just talking and doing it.
Yeah, we're just talking.
I have to switch my glasses to be able to read these, so...
Aww.
So blind. All right, today's dumbass tweets of the week. Don't let this video fool you. SEALs are dangerous. I heard a group of them killed bin Laden.
That's funny. That's not dumb.
That's funny. I know. That's
funny.
That's also not a tweet. I am offended by this. Not only is this funny, but it's also not a tweet.
No, it was.
I've been lied to.
No, it was a tweet. I copied
that
it from
a tweet. It's got the thumbs up at the bottom.
Yeah, it was.
It's a tweet.
It's a photo of a tweet, Shesh, I assure you.
It's a picture of a tweet. Yeah.
That looks like a YouTube comment to me.
Yeah.
A lot of these are funny. I pulled them all from
There's
Twitter.
not even an at handle.
Yeah, it does.
No, but you know what?
A YouTube one.
It is, but they put it on Twitter. Like whoever
got it.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's got a thumbs up and a
Oh.
thumbs down, so it has to be YouTube.
So somebody took this, circled it, and posted it on Twitter.
On
is what
Twitter,
you're saying,
right? And
then
we took a picture of it because we couldn't forward it. So yeah, there you go.
I see what happened. I got you.
Yeah.
I still feel a little bit hurt, but I understand now.
Babe, don't worry about it.
To be fair, it's not the first time we've taken tweets from sources that weren't Twitter. So.
It's only going to go downhill from here.
It's going to go downhill from here.
It usually does.
Can we have the next one?
I drive by faith, not by sight.
That's classic.
That's the Jesus take the wheel moment right there.
Yes.
And look what he did with it. Damn, Jesus. Look at that. Oh,
how did that Jesus ever get a license? I don't know.
I don't know. Retest is necessary.
I feel like somebody
wine he drinks. He should never be in charge of a motor vehicle.
This looks like a vehicle that a police should be pulling over every time they see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir and or madam, do you have your glasses on?
No, Jesus was holding the wheel.
Oh. They're actually sitting in the passenger seat. They've just got a brick on the gas pedal.
Jesus got it.
Look, Mom. No hands.
No hands.
Oh, my God. All right. Next one. Please. What the fuck? The day Barbie understood why Ken wears a mega hat.
Now I understand. You know, these were funny. Oh my god. I just can't.
Oh. Oof. That's a big oof right there.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
a big
Hey,
oof.
at least Barbie doesn't have to worry about gagging.
True. Look at the positives.
There's always a silver lining, but
And he's not, and he's got no pubes, so she's not going to get pubic lice from him either. So yeah,
yeah, but there's no way he can hang a hat on that. There's no way. You cannot. There's no way.
Okay, reacting to Mormon group posts. I really like what you're saying, but honestly, I am too distracted by the excessively garish eye makeup. I think your message would come across as more credible if you looked more normal. I went through that crazy makeup stage when I was in college, and when I look back on those photos, I have to laugh and say, what the fuck was I thinking? And she responded with, I hear what you're saying, but honestly, I'm too distracted by the excessively rude, judgmental behavior. I think your message would come across as more credible if you acted more kind. I went through that rude catty stage when I was in junior high, and when I look back on that time, I have to cry and say, what the fuck was I thinking?
That's a brilliant response.
that's an awesome, completely
Oh.
owned.
There's a lot to unpack in that first half, but my lord, is that an amazing answer. Woo!
Yes, that's a great response to a very misogynistic.
I do that a lot. You know, when I'm
Well,
trolling
except it's a
someone,
female.
I'll take exactly what they said and just substitute a word here and there to completely
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misogyny isn't limited to men.
I suppose.
No.
Not at all.
That's true. That is true. I guess expect. I can't even say that because I know a lot of women that support things that I am constantly amazed in.
There are many women who just still take that road that, you know, that men laid out in the form of misogyny and think that that's perfectly normal and we have to have our little place and let. I mean, look at some of the women who make posts on YouTube for the Christian. And I'm trying to think of the
there's
housewife
one.
They're talking about like Girl Defined and stuff.
Girl Defined, those sort of people.
Transformed wife and
Transformed wife.
That's the one I'm
yeah.
thinking of.
Right.
Totally misogynistic in almost everything they say.
I super
Exactly.
duper want to have the girls from like either Morgan from Paul and Morgan or one or both of the Girl Defined. Hell, I'll go 3-on-1 because I don't want to debate them. I just want to have a conversation about purity culture because I think instead what I'd like to do is have a better understanding of it and maybe give some feedback as to how it could be presented in a less toxic way. So it's just like, hey, maybe instead of talking to teenagers, you talk to adults. So people like let teenagers grow up doing what they want to do and, you know, teach the controversy. You know what I mean?
That's the thing I really hate about Girl Defined is that they're two adult women who are trying to tell teenagers how to live their life.
Mhm.
In a way that is so condescending and so misogynistic.
I understand like wanting to like when it comes to like purity culture, you kind of have to get on the boat early because if you don't get on the board early, it's too late. And so I kind of
The
understand
worst thing you
that,
can do to a teenager is tell them don't have sex.
right. I mean, I'm totally fine with teaching that as an option. Like, hey, listen, you don't have to have sex. You're not required to if you don't want
not
to.
required.
But don't tell them you cannot do this. Right?
Teaching that, don't ever feel pressure into having sex. You don't have to. It is always your choice. Teaching choice first is the best way to.
Yeah, if you don't want to have sex till marriage, there is absolutely nothing in this world that says that you have to or that you should or what you do, you boo boo. And I think there's a better way because this is a culture, right? This is a whole purity culture is a whole thing that you grow up in or you come into later. And it's like, how about you explain what it is clearly in a way that people who are not can understand it without the baggage that comes in. Like, how would you present this to somebody in a way that is not problematic and not toxic? Because I'm not even necessarily against most of purity culture, because like, listen, I'm not here to judge how you live your life. You're allowed to live your life the way you want to live your life. But what I'm critical of is the way you present your message.
Yeah, the message and how it's presented. And like you said, how young it's presented to children.
Right.
I grew up in it. It was something from the time I was a child until till now.
If it's a good idea, you ought to be able to convince an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then present it that way, right? It's the same thing with like things like circumcision. If it's a good idea, present it to an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can convince an adult who's never been circumcised that circumcision is good, then sure, go for it.
And then they can choose to live that life and get circumcised if they want. I'm not going to judge,
Exactly.
but I am going to I'm going to have a problem with you altering somebody's body without their consent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. The next dumbass tweet. It's so nice to see celebrities support each other. Kill the Kardashians.
And that's a Kardashian wearing the Slayer shirt too.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
Yeah.
Oh crap.
the youngest Jenner, right?
Yeah, I think it's Kylie. I think is it Kylie? Yeah,
I don't know the difference between them.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard to tell the difference between them, to be honest.
Well, they kind of did that. It used to not be so difficult, and then slowly over time, it started getting more and more difficult.
I think this one might be Kendall, which is the only one that hasn't had the facial reconstruction yet. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is Kendall.
Yeah.
That's funny though. I think they got in trouble for doing something with those Slayer shirts too, or something like that. They had tried.
One of them posted like a Slayer shirt that they had totally designed to their store or something like that, and Slayer was like, "Hey, excuse me."
Yeah,
but the
Which is
design
probably
was
the whole reason
also a
for
ripoff.
wearing the T-shirt that they're wearing.
Probably
why.
Yeah.
I
Right.
wanted Jay to pull up Virilion's comment to Cheshire's comment about 3-on-1. Virillion said 3-on-1. I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I think Josh would probably be really good at a 3-on-1.
I would just want them to be as comfortable as they could be. So I think that if they've at least outnumbered me, then they would be more comfortable.
My advice, Josh, is don't be the only woman.
Ayo. You don't know my life.
Too much work.
What are you talking about? That's like the easiest.
Oh, sorry,
That's
talking.
the easiest job, right?
And listen, if I don't have to take care of them afterward, no problem.
You don't.
Yeah, listen, if they're not living in my house, I don't care.
Send them home.
Clean up.
Yeah, get out. We're done. Leave. If they can walk afterward, of course. But
No.
And on that note, the next I just saw a post I didn't agree with. I didn't get offended. I didn't comment. I didn't feel the need to change their mind. I still like the person. I just kept scrolling and went on with my day. What a concept.
Winner.
Oh, so many people could learn from
winner.
this.
Yeah.
I think that
Hands
people
down.
wouldn't believe me if I said that.
I know. I know no one would believe me if I said that. They would absolutely send me in for an examination.
This is actually one of the things that I think I brought up during, I think it was during one of our rum and coke nights where somebody had asked me and Steve and the panel, because I guess they were around back in the day and then they just came back around recently and they're like, wait, what's going on? And I was just like, oh no, this is a can of worms. And so I think what I had mentioned is that there's a lot, like Steve and I, for example, and I think Claire also, and probably Aaron as well, don't talk about a lot of the harassment and a lot of the stuff that's said about us. We just don't. We don't have time for that, for one. But for two, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And so it might seem like to an outsider who's not following this stuff or doesn't know that we talk about these things on like a semi-regular basis, like every other week or once a month even.
Right.
But it's like, this is like a daily occurrence for 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day. This is like a 24/7 clock that just keeps going. So if we talk about 2 to 4 things in one video once a week, that's a week of 24/7 this stuff going on, right? So it's a tweet like this that it makes total sense to me, because a lot of the times a lot of YouTubers don't. A lot of us don't actually we're not constantly fighting, we're not constantly offended, we're not. It's just once in a while we're like, hey, we throw out our opinion.
I think a lot of people don't realize the pressure that can come onto us at certain times. I mean, for you, Chash, it's happening almost at a constant
Right.
Oh yeah.
Torrent. And I wasn't aware it was that bad for you, Claire, to be honest.
Because the way I handle it, honestly, Jen, it is that bad. It's been that bad for about a year.
Wow.
But I keep it quiet because here's my take on it. I owe no one, especially them, a conversation on it. And to me,
I agree.
They are showing how they are. And I prefer to make it irrelevant. I won't lend my voice and give them
now,
credit.
I cop it occasionally because, like, if I do make a statement under something Steve has said, or if or like doing this stream, somebody will probably say something to me. Oh, you were on with Chash. That they don't say it about me being on with you, Claire, but I have had it when I've been on streams with Chash.
They will, because I've been with Chash a little too often.
Yeah, so I'm like,
it all comes back to Steve.
It's none of it's none of your goddamn business. And second up, I can be friends with the people I want to be friends with. I'm the one who makes the judgment on these people I want to be associated with, and it's not your call. Get off my case. If I legitimately saw something that I was not happy with, I would either talk to Chesh, I would talk to Steve, I would talk to Claire about it, because they're my friends, and I would talk to them about it. And to be honest, Claire and I have banged heads together a couple of times when we've disagreed on different issues, and we still get along and we still like each other.
Because you could do that.
We're fucking adults.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean sometimes Jen or Claire or Godless Granny or Jade might say something that one of us disagrees with, and once in a while we'll just scroll past it and not care, because it's like, you know what, this is a gray area. Nobody's wrong to agree or disagree about this thing. And there's
we're all different people. We have different opinions. And contrary to what people out there who get involved in little cliques and want to pass judgments on other people think, we are quite capable of making up our own opinions on other issues and people, and we do that ourselves, and we do it as adults based on our experiences. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. If you really don't like that and you sub to me or you watch me anywhere else and you don't like it, fine, you can unsub, because I don't care that much. I don't want to deal with somebody else's drama. I will talk with people that don't make more drama in my life.
Yeah,
if making drama in my life, that is when I might block you.
Yeah, it's a line. Everybody's going to have their own boundaries, and everybody's going to have their own lines. And I feel like drawing a line at supporting somebody accusing me of murder is kind of a fair line to be drawing. Now, I'm not going to force that line.
I saw one today where people were going shitty at you because you put up a post about feeling like certain people in the community were actually threatening your dog.
They were.
A certain person's comment to that was Claire who's trying to kill her dog with chocolates, and I'm like, you what?
Oh,
you want to turn this around like it doesn't matter because Claire's dog ate a chocolate once.
Oh, yeah, that's because I gave, I think I was on stream once and I gave my dog a Smartie. I don't know if you're familiar. Oh, Puck's not even in here. I don't know if you're familiar with how large.
Yeah,
so actually,
these people don't understand this.
Somebody
my daughter had a panic
did the
attack.
math.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's
the math on chocolate.
Somebody did the math of chocolate and dogs to be like, okay. They actually came to me. You did, yes.
So I did. It was me, Claire, because that happened. Claire, Chesh, because that happened.
See, it's happening, Chesh.
Just after my daughter panicked because her puppy had eaten some chocolate. Is he going to die? Is he going to die? And I go, well, I don't actually know, so I'm going to look this up. And I'd done the maths, and then that Smarty thing happened with you, and I said, what? He'd have to eat a whole fucking packet just to get sick. Not
Yeah.
even kill him, just to get sick.
Which is like an additional things because yes, their dogs lack the enzyme, but there's also an additional. Some dogs are allergic. Puck
Yes.
is not allergic. He only lacks
Right.
the enzyme.
The enzyme.
The reason I know
In
he's not
actual fact,
allergic is because he
you're
got into
actually
a
worse
whole
off.
tub. Yeah, go ahead.
You're actually worse off giving your dog onions because their
Yeah.
ability to process onion
Right.
is actually worse than chocolate. And
Yeah,
a lot of
and-
people cook food for their dogs and put onion in it, and you
Right,
shouldn't
or
do
garlic.
that because you will kill your dog eventually.
Right.
Smarties don't have chocolate.
Sorry?
Smarties don't have chocolate.
I was
So-
going to say that in the beginning. Smarties aren't even
Cows do,
chocolate, are
'cause
they?
those are like mine.
Canadian Smarties do. So
Oh,
your Smarties to me are something called rockets. They're those little there's those little powdery things. In
Right.
Canada, there's something called Nestle chocolates. They're like maybe that not even they're like
They're
maybe
like they're
this
like
big.
M&Ms, but
They're like
they're a little bit
squished.
bigger than M&Ms and
They're
more
like-
squished. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like about the same content of chocolate with like that little candy coating, and they're milk
So
chocolate.
think of M&Ms because that's what we call Chesh and I
okay.
have as Smarties. We have
Yeah.
But
those
I
M&Ms,
was
so.
thinking the same thing as Godless Granny. I'm like, wait a minute, like that's like moot because Smarties is not even chocolate.
Hey, did you know that humans don't have the ability to properly process milk and shouldn't be drinking any milk or have any lactose
The
whatsoever?
majority of
Because
people are
when you're
actually lactose intolerant.
when you're a baby, you stop being able to produce. Oh wait, you mean you're not gonna die if you give your kid a
if
glass
you
a
have-
glass of milk? Well, shit.
If you don't have any Germanic background to you genetically, you will be lactose intolerant to some degree because the original mutation is Germanic, and if you don't have that in your history somewhere, you will be lactose intolerant. So if you were say so if you're from Africa originally, you're going to be lactose intolerant, or if you're Asian, you're going to be lactose intolerant. And I'm sorry if that came across as being racist because it wasn't meant to be. But it's just saying that
You're
'cause
talking about
the original gene mutation that enabled us to drink milk happened originally in Germany, around Germany, and everybody else is basically lactose intolerant.
And on
even
top
if
of
you
it,
can
you're
manage
not
to drink it.
really supposed to be drinking milk that much after a specific age anyway. But hey, because of marketing, all dogs are gonna die if they eat a little bit of chocolate. Sorry, I debunked that, I guess.
We've gone way off topic. I forgot we were doing.
Oh yeah. So
Wait,
you were
so-
saying because somebody said that I said I was feeling threatened because somebody was threatening my dog, and their reaction was to dismiss it because my dog's not allergic to chocolate or
Yeah.
something.
It was ridiculous. It was absolutely the most ridiculous comment I've ever read. And it was just a poor excuse to try and say Chess shouldn't be worried about people threatening because Chess threatens her own dog. So she's and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Somebody has threatened Chesh's dog. Chesh is asking whether or not she should leave and if she should move, and if she does, would the community help support her in doing that? Because it is expensive to move. Having done it myself, it is horrendously expensive to move.
Plus, I was also looking to
You're
double
taking
check.
offense at this.
Plus, I was trying to double check my own sensibility to the sensibilities of other people, right? Because like
I do that too
sometimes like I'll like overthink sometimes, and sometimes I'll underthink something. Like I can say right now that I don't feel like this guy is actually next door to me right this very second. I don't think this is an urgent thing that, oh my god, I need to get out of here. Can somebody help me? No. That's why I made it a Twitter poll. Because somebody made a good point. They're like, if you feel threatened, this shouldn't be a Twitter poll. You should be going to the police. And the thing is like, well, I agree, but I'm also looking to verify that like I'm not reading into something that's not actually there. I want to gauge my own response if I'm being reasonable. And I think what I've gotten back is that I'm probably not taking this seriously enough personally. And at the same time, it doesn't also have to go to the extreme of moving. There are lots of other options I can take, which I didn't consider before. So I actually got a lot of good feedback for anybody who voted and commented on that. Thank you very much.
Fishing for feedback is not something that the number of times when I've made posts about something where I know I'm fishing for feedback, you don't necessarily ask for it, but you're fishing for it. And then I've had some guy say to me either in DM or in the comment underneath it, go, oh, what are you doing that for? You should know better than that. And fuck off.
Well, and there's so much of a difference between, I notice a huge difference between the responses men have given me and the responses women have given me, because there's a really, really big difference when you live by yourself, which I,
Right.
Okay. Yep.
There you go.
and I am a small female. I am a tiny person. I'm not even 5 feet tall.
You're a goblin.
I'm a goblin. I live and like goblins are not very intimidating or scary when they're by themselves. They only matter in large numbers. So like when you're a small female living alone, it becomes a little bit more of a threat when somebody and like the person we're talking about is somebody who has a criminal background, lives in the country, says they already know where I am and would have gone after me, but somehow, for some reason, they've changed their mind, even though their behavior has escalated, and that the only thing stopping them from doing anything or stalking Steve is because they have a criminal history, they can't cross the border. Well, I'm not across a border. I don't have border protection there. So I'm like, how seriously, because that's why I asked. I was like, how seriously do I take this? Should I be moving? Like, is this something that I should be at, like, very, because I'm not even worried about me that much. I don't want my dog getting caught up.
That you and I don't live in the US where there is that fear culture. And I'm sorry, you guys do have a fear culture. So in our country, we feel safer walking down the street and stuff like that. But to suddenly have a threat come at you, it is very intimidating.
Well, there was a concern for a while that I couldn't go to Texas because I was going to be attacked by somebody who lived there. And so, and like, that was an active threat for a while. Now, as far as I know, that threat is still active. I just haven't heard anything otherwise. So I have to treat it as if it is still
an active threat.
Right. And so how do I treat it when it's somebody who's potentially knows where I live and is basically already at my front door, so they should they so choose to on a whim, right?
No, that whole thing is just too much. That level of harassment, that people take it that far. These are the same people that are like looking on that post about your dog, like they saw it because they're actually stalking your account to find it, to wait for an opportunity to go at you. I
feel like I dragged everything right down. No, I'm really sorry. I tried to bring it back.
I know we're not actually discussing the dumb tweet. We're kind of discussing this one, but it was very poignant to what we were talking about before when we're talking about some of the threats that we face as women on Twitter. I mean,
which makes
I've
nice
had people,
concept.
and Jade and Claire both know about one recently, but I've had personal threats made at me by people who in the community, and it's even if they're joking or they in their head think, I could never actually do this, but the fact that threat's being made at you is enough to make you double think about everything. Am I going to be safe? Even if they're in a different country to me, it's still possible for people to get other people to get to you.
Well, that was a whole other conversation that I want to have on that time of the month. So maybe one of you guys can join me because I have an open slot, because I want to bring Claire, Manya, and myself. So I have an open slot if one of you would like to join. But I want to talk about, like, at what point, like, where do you draw the line at what a creator says versus what like, at what point does it become inciting, right? Because there are plenty of people with relatively large followings under this guy's comments towards me, egging him on. So at what point, like, I'm not egging him on. I'm not going out of my way to tweet at this person. I left one comment on a video he made saying I was in a cult, saying 10 out of 10 would fap again. But that's like the only comment I've ever left on this guy's channel at all. Because I was just like, I like your video, but I didn't I'm not egging him on. I'm not provoking him. I'm not I don't this is not something that I'm one, interested in any way. And two, have to take to some degree, I have to take it seriously, because how many times do you get told, oh, he was just kidding. Oh, he was just kidding. Oh, he was just kidding. And now you're tied up in a basement. Oh, cool.
And you know what? And that's unacceptable, that people are actually even in any way at all, without thinking they're signing on to that kind of behavior or endorsing it, they are. And that has to be brought to light, that if you see something and you're not saying anything about it, you're not saying it's unacceptable. That's how I get involved, because I see that
Or
stuff.
you get the guy who says, I'm sorry, I
hell
was
no.
just angry at the time, so I said
Yeah,
those things. They go, I don't care that you were angry at the time. You still don't say those things because you are literally threatening me.
Well, there's
I
also
really-
like a difference between a joke, right? Like you can tell when something is a joke, because the answer is the best response I've ever found is explain it then. Tell me how that's funny. Why is that funny?
Exactly.
And they never do.
Not.
They just get mad and say, you don't know what comedy is. It's like, no. I've spent time studying comedy. There are rules. There are guidelines. You can explain a joke.
And Jay's getting impatient with us, so maybe we'll move on to the next
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry,
Welcome.
Jay.
All right, next tweet.
Oh, that is
Damn it.
that has to
I've
go in
seen
your
this
intro,
before.
Claire.
No,
That
I've
has to go.
actually, I've had this in my inbox actually already. I've seen this before. Very good.
Oh.
Very good. Oh my
I was
god.
not expecting that.
I was not expecting, and that pose, I think I could do better, really, seriously.
Oh, unvaccinated sperm will be the biological version of Bitcoin. So don't get the vax and hodl your seed. Hodl, hodl. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
What does hodl mean?
Hold.
It's hold over.
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering who would actually have the patience to sit there and vaccinate sperm.
I don't think that's what they meant, but that's funny.
That's what it is. Because, oh god.
Little
That's
tiny
Imagining
baby
some guy leaning over a microscope with this little tiny needle in his hand and a little petri dish.
I
Gotta
like
vaccinate
to.
all these sperms before the IVF.
You know that because it's man-related, they'll find like a more efficient, faster, and less uncomfortable way to do it. Because, like, look at birth control.
Yeah,
So, all I imagine is just like somebody shacks off into like a bowl, and then they spray it over with like a salmon or some shit.
I've also got this problem of unvaccinated sperm will be the biological version of Bitcoin. So is he suggesting that people are going to go around trading their unvaccinated sperm, buying commodities with little packets of sperm? It's like, do we have to have waterproof purses and wallets at that point? Just so
Oh no!
We're gonna add that to the valid.
Jay, I'm never going to let you forget this
one.
one. This is the new candle.
Yeah. This is
the new duck porn.
Then good one, Jay.
Oh.
Oh god.
Oh boy. All right. Unbearable witness. Maybe they're the only race.
Whiteness.
No, it's not witness.
Whiteness. Oh boy. Unbearable whiteness. Maybe they're the only race that cares to learn about history. You should go teach the Africans in St. Louis and Chicago about the difference between development and research sites and see if they give a shit. Digital Hammurabi says, if you truly think the only people interested in ancient history are white people, then I really don't know what to tell you, except that you're an idiot.
And a racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also
That is amazing amount of white supremacy right there.
Why St. Louis?
Yeah. I don't
Why
know, 'cause
St.
it's a
Louis
hotbed-
and Chicago?
Isn't St. Louis considered a hotbed of racism?
So is this person from St. Louis then?
Probably.
Probably.
I don't know what Chicago's like. Chicago can't really be all
Well,
that racist.
I would argue that at one point in time, studying ancient history was kind of like an elite, difficult thing to get into for a lot of people. It was like something that rich people would do because they had
And
the
yet
time
the
and the
Moors-
money to spend.
The Moors were actually put together a lot of our early history documents and stuff like that. So they weren't white.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of. Oh, what did this person watch The Mummy one too many times? Like what the
Yeah,
fuck?
something like that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right.
You
I agree
notice
with
that
that,
in The
Chris.
Mummy,
Studying
though,
history
by
is
the
still pretty
way? You notice that in The Mummy, it's white people that are bumbling around being stupid, and it's people of other ethnicities that already know what the hell's going on.
Going on, right.
Just saying. I love that movie so much.
That is a
I
good
love Brendan Fraser. That man makes me happy all day long, every day. He's a shit poster on Twitter, and I'm so happy about it.
Thanks, Raven. All right, next picture.
Oh, I love this one.
God is not mad at you. He's just not that into you.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I just
That's
love the
cool.
person who put these books together on display. I just love
Brilliant.
them so much.
My mom used to be super into Joyce Meyer. Like,
Oh, yes.
super into that.
Except for she was a woman pastor, so my mom didn't like that. She
My
wasn't
aunt is a
supposed-
woman pastor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Women weren't allowed to be heads of the church at all in the church that I
Seen
went
but
to.
not heard.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got like there's like that is there, but like I've never been able to like suss that out. I've never been able to suss that out because sometimes you've got those women pastors preaching that you need to be submissive to your man. Meanwhile, Joyce is like a multi-millionaire or whatever she is, and her husband's just like, this is great.
Yep.
So does she run all of her production decisions past her husband? Like, does he have to proofread all of her books? Like, do they need his stamp of approval? Because that would be really funny if there was like a little disclaimer on the back of the book or in the front of the book that said approved by my husband's stamp.
You know, that wouldn't
But
surprise
no,
me.
I doubt that. I think she's just a hypocrite.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of them are.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, next one. I don't know how many we have today, so police say a man may have died after using a high-powered epoxy resin to seal his private parts during intercourse to ensure protection from pregnancy.
What?
Well, that would do it, I guess. You're definitely not getting anybody pregnant.
There's nothing better than that to use.
You know what? At least
that one deserves a
That's what I was thinking.
That one
Darwin
deserves
Award.
a Darwin Award.
Darwin
Yeah,
Award.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That just shows you that stupidity really is painful.
At
Stupidity
least-
is painful.
At least he did it to himself and not to somebody else, because I've seen shit like that before. So you know what? Good on this guy for, not imposing
Wasn't there a man somewhere? So wasn't he another one of these Florida ones who actually ended up serving prison time because he glued his wife's vagina shut because he thought she was having an affair?
Oh yeah, I remember something. I can't remember. It was glue. Was that like super glue or something?
Oh my
Yeah, it was
God.
glue.
Yeah.
What would have happened if he would have had intercourse while it was still wet?
Yeah, that would have been an interesting time.
The glue or the epoxy?
The glue.
Oh, the glue. Oh.
I don't know. I think the glue would act as glue
KY
for a little while.
For the crazy glue.
Well, I'm thinking that they'd end up glued together and they've got to go to the emergency room together to try to get separated.
There's an American reality TV show about that. It's like Sex Got Me into the ER, and that would be a great episode.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing with that's a hot tub danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting stuck. Yep.
Next one, Jay.
Yes, next one. They didn't earn a badge, but they never forgot that day.
So, like, this kind of stuff is funny, but I do get concerned about the, a young boy would totally like having sex with their older teacher. How could they possibly not like that? That would be my dream. And I'm just like, okay.
That's creepy as all hell as well.
Right.
It's funny, but it's creepy as all hell.
Yeah, that's creepy on like 7 different levels, and like just from every direction.
So that was the dumbass tweets, or more funny tweets of the week.
Yeah,
and we got a $5 super chat from Jeff from Godless Scummer. The exorcism from the resin in that situation would have been amazing to see. Oh yeah, because he's quite right. Anytime you as glue cures, it gives off heat. So not only would the guy have glued the tip of his penis, his foreskin together, he would have burnt himself in the process.
He also would have been in a little bit of trouble depending on whether he was flaccid or not when he started.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh, ow.
Yeah.
As I told you, stupidity is painful. That was painful to do. This is bad. This is bad.
Like the longer you
Darwin
think
Award.
about that, the worse it gets.
I know.
This is something, so I like to play D&D, and I had a person one day decide they wanted to drink Sovereign Glue. For anybody who doesn't know, it's basically magical super glue. It's basically magical gorilla glue, and the only way it can be unstuck is by a solvent, the solvent. Yeah. And so you need a specific magic solvent to unstick the magic glue. I mean, it makes sense, but the person didn't know what it was, so the character drank it because he's like, "Oh, look, I found a random potion."
Well, you're
Do
dead.
you die of dysentery in 3 days, or?
Oh no!
Because it takes 5 minutes to set, so it would get all down his throat and into his stomach, and then would set in his stomach, and I was just like.
So to be fair, your stomach acid would probably eat through it in a few days.
That's what I was wondering.
The magic glue?
Oh, it's actually magic because you're actually talking about in a game. So it's actually magic.
Yeah. Oh, if you were just to drink regular glue, you'd probably be okay.
No,
but
you didn't have hospitalized, but yes.
Yeah, but this is magic glue.
Yeah, well, you'd have to go and find a wizard who could remove it for you.
In 5 days, so you've got 5 minutes before it sets, so you either vomit it all up and hope you got it all within 5 minutes before it sets, or you've got, you can't go do it because you're going to be incapacitated because your stomach is...
Yeah, you got to get one of your party members to carry you to a wizard to solve this problem. Or a cleric, probably more likely.
You need an alchemist. You need somebody who can make the solvent. But you also need
one of your party members remembers to bring the original bottle so that they can figure out what it was.
Right, because you don't know what it was. And on top of it, it takes time to make the solvent. And to make the solvent, you need the components for that solvent is bonkers stuff. It's like you're dead. So what we actually had them do is I let them roll to see if they could figure out what it was, and one of them recognized it and basically kicked the guy in the dick so he'd vomit it all up, and then it sat for the vomit sat for long enough mixed with the solvent glue that there was now just a permanent vomit on the floor of that shop.
I always love now we're talking about D&D. I always love the stupid deaths you get in the game just because somebody did something really stupid.
So if you want to talk about crazy misogyny on the internet, go look at some of the D&D forums. Oh my god!
Or play computer games online with random strangers. The misogyny you get. I've played a lot of Diablo 3, especially when it first came out, and my nick online is Jenny, and I would get legitimately. Now you're just some guy pretending, because that is what they think. They think no women play games at all.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
no girls on the internet.
Get over it. Girls don't play computer games. So fuck off.
There's one of the things is that video games and D&D has gotten better and worse at the same time.
I'll have to play Portal with you sometime now, Chesh.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
No, not Portal. Well, Portal.
I'm down. I actually got a computer now that'll fucking run the damn thing.
But yeah.
Yeah,
talking about computer games.
There's there's a weird expectation sometimes when you're playing in a game of D&D that you would expect that women don't make good DMs, or women players have to be healers, or the woman player is everybody in the town is gonna want to have sex with that character, or they're going. I had a man.
Or you get it, or you get the ones who, if you role play a male character when you're playing D&D, that you get called a lesbian.
Yeah, or if you're a woman playing a male character, or if you make a character that has no. So I made a character that is a Warforged, and originally I had it designed like a regular Warforged, but I was playing with all dudes, so that for some reason my Warforged ended up with tits, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Sure. So I turn them into
Whatever.
pockets. They open up and she just stuffs stuff in there. It works. But I had a guy once, the audacity of this bitch. He decided I was playing a male character, and I was just playing like a male barbarian fighter, and I guess he got kind of mad because he wanted to do like a whole thing with my character, and I was like, I'm playing in between shifts. I don't have time to invest into this character. I just want to play a guy that hits things hard sometimes. It was like, he's kind of a passive guy, but you could piss him off. He breaks stuff. And they would not want to let me do it. And then he got mad and was like, well, I'm going to show you how to do a real gender bend. I'm going to play a girl. Then made the most Mary Sue bullshit character and played her like she was so stupid. I'm like, is this how you view women?
Yeah, that's the one thing you do get with misogyny. But the other side of that was I had a guy in one group who said no one should ever role play the opposite gender to what they are because we should all stick in our own lanes. Legitimately said that.
What?
At the start. Yeah, no, you have to role play as the gender you are because it's not right otherwise. Actually,
but it's a role-playing game. That's the point.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
Some games don't even have female characters for role play.
No,
Yep,
they don't.
that's true. Yep. So there's actually a lot of games when they
Because
do
the
put
entire
women in
gaming world, whether it's computers or D&D or whatever else it is unless of course you're talking about the Nintendo Wii, which sort of circumvented it somehow, is completely misogynistic.
Bless capitalism for the Wii, because that's what that
You
happened.
only have to look at. I mean, the entire case for Activision at the moment is a line to Me Too.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that what happened, it happened like back in the 80s, early 90s, I think was the Switch, late 80s, early 90s. I have to double check the date. But the marketing shifted, because originally the things like Pong and such were marketed to men and women. There was no gender to video games at that point. Right. It wasn't until things like, I don't want to say Mortal Kombat, because I don't think it was Mortal Kombat's fault.
It was the violent games that changed it. Fighting games started it. Things like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and stuff like that, where they said these are going to be targeted towards men.
Yeah, it started. It was I want to say it was probably closer to things like Contra.
The big fighting games.
Yeah, fighting shooting games. They're for men. And like somehow
we're people.
Yeah, somehow that shifted the direction of video games, where even Mario started being marketed, like video games were just marketed towards men or boys, and for a long time they were only marketed towards children. With the newer generations of games, probably around the PlayStation 3 and around the time the first Wii came out.
Earlier than that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, the Switch.
No, it started earlier than that, because even in the 80s, when you first had like the Genesis and the Super Nintendo come out, and you had things like Mortal Kombat, and you had the later versions of Commando,
Metal Gear Solid.
Like those games were all aimed towards boys, teenage boys, because they didn't think girls would care for violent type games, because girls don't do stuff like that. Whereas what they're missing the fact is it's a fucking game. Yeah. And and I remember my friends back then. We all played the same fucking games.
Oh, you mean you played Halo, even though that was like supposed to be a super like power trip? The thing is that around the time of the PlayStation 3, and I think when the first Wii came out, is when it started to shift again, because the Wii was just marketed at families. It was marketed as a family console, boys, girls, men, and women, and so the games that were on there was
graphics and which Nintendo was always done, kind of.
A broader spectrum of games. Things like Yoshi's Island weren't back on the Super Nintendo, weren't particularly
it was aimed towards family. And in a sense, the Wii sort of brought it back to, hey, gaming is for everybody. So it started encouraging the industry to target games towards women as well.
They were extremely successful.
An incredibly misogynistic company.
Yes.
It is stupidly misogynistic. And yet they had a major thing in making that bit of a change back when the Wii originally came out. And it was only because of the platform they brought out.
Capitalism. The answer is that there was
capitalism.
Sony and Microsoft were fighting over the same group of people that were like 20-year-old men who don't have money anyway. And Nintendo went, why do we care about them? Give me old people and children, because then the parents will be spending all of their money. Yay! Capitalism
Nintendo
solved
was
the gender
smart as far
equality
as
in video
marketing
games.
Yeah, and they didn't care. They actually looked at it and said, "Hey, there's this huge market of young girls and mothers who don't play. Let's make them play." And
Yeah.
totally ignoring the fact that they had a big hand in creating that environment where young girls
the first
and
place.
mothers were not playing because
Yeah.
because they marketed these games so heavily
They blocked
towards
them out.
men that so many women didn't feel comfortable playing in those environments, especially once games started becoming online.
Yeah,
That was
and men would block them out. This is the same thing that happened with D&D. D&D was never marketed towards a specific gender until a little bit later in. And it basically, women got stonewalled out of these games because, like, I did a whole episode on the quartering when he was talking about how he was saying that one of the creators
There's a
and writers for
misogynistic person for you.
Right, which is hilarious because he was trying to take one of the writers of 5th edition's tweets and tried to say that that guy was saying that women were too stupid to play D&D. Oh, the rules are too complicated. Oh, the lore is too difficult for women's pre-braids to understand. And so I went back and I looked at the video and I looked at the tweet and I was like, that doesn't say that at all. Were you just expecting women to get offended for you because you think they're stupid? Because that's how this reads.
The most interesting thing about gaming and everything is that if you actually look at where all the money is spent in gaming, and most of it is spent in the mobile phone gaming industry, not in the consoles and everything like that. The money that's spent on mobile phone gamings where you're buying new bits and pieces for playing your Candy Crush or whatever else, most of the money spent in the gaming industry is spent by women.
Oh, yeah. There's I do get a bit of a kick out of, there was one time I was on a stream, and I do not think this was on purpose. I have no malice towards this. It's on stream a while ago, a couple months ago. And some older gentleman decided he wanted to mansplain Mario to me.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
that went well.
I just sat there. I was just like, it's fine. I'll wait. It's just because they were like, do you play any games? I'm like, oh, well, I play League of Legends. I play Minecraft. I don't own a console right now, so I don't get to play any of the console games. I miss having a Switch. I want to play the new Pokemon game. Pokemon Snap is out. I want to play the hell out of that.
I've got a Wii
Zelda.
U.
Yeah.
I've got a Wii U still. I love my Wii U because you can still play this. You can still play the Wii games, but you've also got
the Wii U
the
games.
Wii U.
I really want to get a Switch again, but after saying these things, the guy's like, do you know Mario? I'm like, I mean, yeah. It's the one with the guy that you've got to jump across. I'm like, you mean go right and jump? Yes, I'm familiar with Mario.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm nuts for all classic gaming, and that I count up to whatever the last generation of consoles was.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm nuts about it. I mean, on my desk right here, I have...
Oh, there you go.
I own 3 of them, by the way.
When you get to the Switch, Jen, you will love it. You will love the Switch.
I don't have one at the moment, but
the Switch 2 is coming out soon, so I'm hoping the Switch will just dump down in price so I can get. Because I don't want a Switch Lite. That's garbage. Get that garbage away.
Yes, I don't want the Lite. That's my thing, and I don't want. I can't justify at the moment spending $500 on a new console.
Same.
So,
and then you got to start spending $60 on a game.
But I recently picked up a Xbox 360 for $60.
Nice.
So pretty happy with that. So, and it works.
Play Halo 3.
Cool. It's not modded, unfortunately, and I want to mod it so that I can put other
We
stuff
all
on it.
know PC wins anyway.
Yeah, I love my
PC gaming is.
But I like having these classic things. When my new stuff is all finally set up here, and I'll actually have a set behind me as well as a green screen, I'm actually going to put some of the classic consoles I've got and that up behind me for people to see and set up and stuff like that. And I'll do some video talking about them. So because
on the misogyny part, though, it's a lot easier for a woman to get into console gaming than it is to get into computer gaming.
Yes, because computer gaming generally relies on you having voice contact with other people, and as soon as they figure out you're a woman, you get trounced on. Basically.
It's the only reason I was willing to play League of Legends is because there is no auto
when you're not, and you shouldn't be playing this game because you're a woman, or they're trying to chat you up.
Or both at the same time.
Oh yes,
Right.
yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. They
The
will tell
double.
you you're crap. You shouldn't be playing the game. But hey, can I have a date?
At the same
Fuck
time.
off.
Or
At
they'll
the
like
same time.
randomly bring up some kind of political topic as if you're like, what? So would you get an abortion?
What? Yeah.
I'm trying to fucking sit here and farm minions, and you're like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Oh, like, what the fuck
There used to
conversation
be a
is
couple
this?
of there used to be a couple of guys here I'd occasionally get on.
Oh,
and,
racism isn't real.
My introduction to streaming was gaming streamers when I used to play Diablo 3 all the time. And there was a group that a few guys who I used to hop in and I'd get involved with their streams with and stuff like that. I remember they invited some other random guy that none of us had ever met in to join the gaming. And his first question to me was, during the middle of the game, do you like guys with big dicks? What's that got to do with playing the fucking game?
Are you asking because you don't have one?
No.
I didn't have to say anything. The other guys actually did the white knighting and jumped in
That's
on him and
the
did his ass
thing
as well,
that is like good and bad at the same time. It's like there are ways to defend and speak out against that kind of behavior without white knighting. And so
Right.
there's a line you gotta walk, and I think a lot of people just don't know what that line is.
Right.
Like
Right.
when Unirock made that comment about my hair, BM Furball actually did a very good job of speaking out against what Uni had said without and like just speaking out for women in general without actually
Right.
white knighting for me, because he's like,
Right.
listen, I'm offended by this on my own, and here's my reasoning for why. I'm not telling you why
Right.
she's offended or why she should be offended, and I'm not
Right.
telling you why women or other people or trans people should be offended. I'm telling you why I'm offended.
Right. And that should happen more often. Like, we want you to
Yeah.
speak up, but don't. Unfortunately, it'll be interpreted as you're taking our voice away by the other party in
Speak
some
up,
manner.
not for.
For
is the
right.
difference.
Speak up loudly. We get the benefit, right, Cheshire? We know there's a lot of them around us that are very supportive of all this, and I greatly appreciate it. But they don't white knight. They don't come in there and rescue or act like you can't handle it yourself. And
One of the
anything like that.
nicest things
Right.
I've ever had somebody do is they check with me before they go in. Is like,
Oh.
I'll get a message saying, hey, are you okay? Do you want me to help and step in? Or, I mean, I'm going to step in and say this stuff, but do you also
How do you
want me
feel?
to say anything for you or anything like that? Because I don't want to step on your toes.
Oh my God, common sense and courtesy?
What?
Oh
Crazy.
God, crazy. That's insanity. Who is this person? I need to talk to them. Common
Yeah,
sense
and
insanity.
because they also
Oh.
don't want to escalate the situation or blow it up into a situation that becomes uncomfortable for me.
Now you did it. They're reasonable too. Oh
I don't
my
know.
God. Oh my
You wanna
God.
know
I
who-
don't know.
I can tell you who it was. I won't say what they said or the situation, but I can tell you who it was that actually did this.
I hope they're a friend of mine, because hallelujah, person, whoever you are. Like, I want to know you if I don't already. I'll tell you that.
Egghead.
Oh, I do. Yeah, he's cool. He's really
I
cool.
love Egghead. He's such a sweetheart. He's such a nice guy, and like in like the real sense, not in like the oh, I'm a nice guy, suck my dick.
No, he actually is a nice guy, like just a nice person. I don't even want to call him a guy, because that's how he interacted
Yes.
with me as a person, not as a guy or as a girl. He interacted one-on-one as just a person, and that's incredible. So I'm glad he did that for him.
But I think
wish
that's
more-
something that women ought to do for each other too. If you
Yes.
see another woman getting like shit on for some bullshit reason,
Oh.
it's not necessarily a bad idea to double check with that person to be like, hey, what's going on? But don't overwhelm them, right?
Mhm.
You'll have to judge between what you know about that person that you're talking to and the situation and where your boundaries are. But that's a dance. That's a social.
Right, that's the thing. Like, you get DMs like that, right? Like, I know I make those DMs to people. I go, do you need a tag in? Like, you cool? You know, just a little word just to see, because you saw what's happening,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily want to step on it with it,
No.
unless they need you or want you or
And, like,
don't care either way.
I have a hard time doing that. So I appreciate people stepping in or helping me, because I haven't had a lot of experience dealing with trolls yet, or dealing with, even in my own life, it's starting to become a little more apparent that people don't like I'm getting online and talking about these things. So I've had people around me start to mention that I shouldn't be doing it. And I'm not quite to the point yet where you guys are. So it's still really hard for me sometimes to, especially when it's my friends and family talking about these things.
That's always hard.
It's a rocky road. And you'll build up some tough skin getting there. On the other hand, I tend to keep my DMs open specifically for stuff like this. I've had people who have trolled me and have been complete assholes to me come to me asking for help. To be like, hey, I don't know how to handle this situation, or hey, I have this stuff, what should I do? And so there are situations, depending on the person, where I've absolutely put that person on blast for even DMing me. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to give you the advice. Here's the advice. And then they say something stupid, and I'm just like, and here's my DMs. Because I maintain that I keep my DMs public, and I make sure people are aware of this. That doesn't mean I'm going to blast them every single time. I have my own sensibilities, but I maintain the right that you don't get to say shit. If you're going to start lying about DMs, I will absolutely post that shit. You're not, I don't care. That doesn't mean I'm going to like put out your mom's maiden name, but I don't know why you're sending me your mom's maiden name, asshole.
People are stupid though.
Right. Jaded, you might want to check out mine and Steve's Caffeine Corner episodes. They might help you navigate some of this because, like, it is something that's just practice. And one of the best things you can do is observe other people going through it and kind of observe breakdowns and kind of see how they've handled it to find what works for you. Vegan Atheist Coral has a very interesting, I totally respect it. It's not the way I do it, but it's definitely a respectable, interesting way to handle this kind of stuff. And so I definitely, she has just a completely different disposition.
We've got somebody in the chat at the
somebody
moment who handles them quite well in Golden Unicorn.
Yeah, also, and those are two very different ways. Like Manya handles things differently from me, who handles things differently from Coral, who handles things differently from Claire, who handles things differently from Jen. So like, there's all of us sort of do our own thing, but it takes time to sort of find that voice. In real life,
back to what you were saying before, Chash, it's a good thing to have if you see somebody who's being hammered upon by people. Give them a second to see if they'll defend themselves, because it's best if a person can defend themselves.
Right.
But if you see that they're getting swamped under, hop in there, give them a defense. If they're your friend, don't just let them be drowned by these idiots. But be smart about how you do it too, because the last thing you want to do is cop a ban because you've gone off of that. Better to give them the feed,
fan the flames.
Feed the person with enough stuff so that they're going to be the one who says something dumb and gets banned.
There's two ways of supporting, right? You can defend somebody, but you can also support them by starting a completely different thread and being just being supportive to them. One of the worst things you can do if you're especially if it's not your friend, if it's somebody that you don't know or somebody that you follow. So let's say you're a viewer and it's Jen. If Jen is getting attacked, then you can come up with a defense and say, hey, and they're like, say they're making some bullshit claim, like, oh, Jen said this. And you're like, Jen never said that. That didn't happen. I watched Jen. This is what was said. That's you just putting out facts.
Right.
Now, it isn't...
They mostly ignore the facts, though.
Well, sure, but that's not necessarily even a defense of Jen or Jen's behavior. That's just saying, that's not what happened. Here's the facts.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference between, well, I know Jen and she's a great person, so I think you're bullshit. That's defending Jen. But but if you say, hey, listen, these are just the facts, and you're very neutral, like just to the point, they're gonna accuse you of just defending her, but that's not what's really happening. On top of that,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, the other thing is that you can support people by actually being supportive, going on attacking the other person and being like, well, start slinging shit.
No, go after the issue. Go after the issue. Like you could leave both parties out of it and go after the issue and show the support for the person that's getting slammed.
And don't forget, quote tweets are really useful things, because if you see somebody being attacked and you quote tweet the attacker with your own comment about what they're saying, usually that will drag the person away from the person they're attacking and let them come to you.
And let them come.
And if you're really smart and you go to somebody who's a friend like Chesh, or I go to Claire or something. I actually haven't done this. I think I've done it with Chesh before. I haven't done it with Claire. We go to them and go,
I'm
we've got
good.
this
You can do
dickhead. I'm going to make a comment, and then we all jump on.
Yeah.
So they've made a comment back because I've made a comment about them, and then everyone's like in them. But they're jumping to my defense, not the other person's defense at that point.
Mhm.
And that's different because
It shifts the conversation.
I'm
You
with
could
that
pull
at that
it-
point,
you
and
could
it
pull it
shifts the
over.
focus.
Which that would work with something in Jade in your
Westwell with
situation where
uni.
you're uncomfortable. Somebody could just pull it away from you, give you time to breathe, and deal with the issue on a totally another
Elsewhere.
thread. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
welcome
getting
back,
easier.
Jenny.
Yes, welcome back, Jenny.
Thank you. I have no clue what's going on. It's something. It's localized to Twitter. Everything else on my phone works. So
Oh, wow.
not me.
Weird. You
If
might have done
I've
install
never
and
I've
reinstall
never been
Twitter.
shut down by Twitter. They let
No,
you
it
on
doesn't
and
look
tell
like
you.
that because your account still says it's active, and no one has changed anything on your account. And usually, if somebody hijacks your account, they'll change stuff on it. So
Oh.
no one's done
But
that, and so it still
Twitter's-
looks like your account. So
They've been doing a lot of verification stuff though too. People have been getting these random verification things where you have to go through a process to prove something or whatever to get back into your account. It's ridiculous. It's hard to know what's real and fake with that stuff. Like, but,
Yeah,
I know.
that would
Yeah.
be. But it like I said, I couldn't even create a new account.
Mm.
So there's something really wrong. I don't get it.
Did they send you a link to verify or anything? Or?
No,
No. Wow, that's
no. I got dumped off of this and I went back to Twitter to reload, and it wouldn't do anything from there on. So messages won't load, nothing. Well,
You've
now
only
I
had
can't
Jenny.
even get in because I threw out the app and reloaded the app. So I'm
Now
stuck
that you're
on the
back, we've been
outside.
through lots of topics. Although we've kind of kept to misogyny and
But
assholes on
isn't
the
that a
internet.
daily? Isn't that a daily thread anyway in our
One
lives?
of the
Like, how can we
things,
Kind of
not?
is.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
24/7 for me. But one of the
It's
things is that that's nice is if other people are jumping in and having these conversations about the topic, it spreads out the attack. Now suddenly the people that are being misogynistic, the people that are doing the attacking, have too many targets.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now suddenly the people that are trying to have the discussion outnumber the people that are trying to derail it.
Yeah. And you're
Whether
at the
they
point
agree
where
or
you've
not.
actually taken control of them. And at that point, they either give up or they try to pick on somebody else in the group individually.
Yeah, they'll aim at somebody else, but because it's too late.
Yeah.
Because then everybody will just move over there and be like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing
This
that?" You
is
just
where
keep
get
sending them
people saying,
screenshots of their own things.
you're a hive mind. This is where you get people who make the arguments like, oh, you're a cult, you're a hive mind, or something like that. Actually, what we're doing is we're using a really good way of protecting ourselves, especially as women on the internet. If we can get in groups and stop these misogynistic people from attacking us by defending each other, all of a sudden they have to back off. And then the guys who are being misogynistic feel threatened.
Well,
There are women who do this too, but it's mostly men.
Go ahead.
We just had that stream right with Aaron Cheshire, and
Yeah,
I was actually just trying to tell the person who was being very aggressive with Aaron and was microaggressions, very misogynistic, what it looked like. I was actually, believe it or not, trying to give him grace and give him the opportunity to just learn and say, like, this is what it appears like to us. And instead of listening, he and his pal just doubled down in that chat and just supported everything that they said. They just like went for it, even though the chat was like, "Are you for real? Like, are you actually for?" I'm like, "All right, dude. Well, now what am I supposed to do with that? Like, here I am just trying to say, you may not have appeared to say it that way, but this is how it was interpreted by us."
Happen.
And this is like what we saw and what we think you said. So if you didn't say it that way, like let's have a conversation. But instead of that conversation, it was just a double down and just got worse. So sometimes that doesn't work. Like they just don't Walter, listen, it's immediate defense and you're just overreacting. Like, you're not allowed to even feel anything about what they're saying or doing to you, because anything that you say is, oh, you're just overreacting.
It's gaslighting.
Because, yeah, you're just overreacting. You're making a big deal out of something. You know, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I am. I've lived it my whole life.
It's kind of like that situation where the people will be like, oh, well, you can't make fun of the way somebody looks. This motherfucker has been trying to pick on me, make me feel insecure, and come after me with him and his group of people for over a year. And I clap back about him wearing a bandana, and suddenly that, like, not that I even did that, it's suddenly like, oh, but you make fun of the way he looks.
You made fun of his bandana.
I didn't even make fun. That wasn't even me. There are people around me that do that.
And you were very kind because you had so much more to work with there, and you went for the bandana.
I made two really, really funny comments, and neither of them were actually really like saying the way this person looked was bad. It was, one is I copied their outfit and made a "Who Wore It Better" meme.
Well, I want to bring up something that Jeff just posted in the chat.
Go for it.
Thank you. The word cult is really getting thrown around to the point where it's starting to lose its impact. A bit like the way word fascist gets thrown around loosely. I would say this happens to an awful lot of words. I have heard people use homophobic and transphobic and bigoted in ways that, by the way that you're using them now, is diminishing the effect of those words because you're basically using them for things they shouldn't be used for anymore. There was a certain apologist the other day who called somebody a bigot just because she referred to people in the past as being how did she put it? Did you see that tweet?
Are you talking about that people were savages and like basically like
they were being
that one.
She was describing people in Bible, people depicted in the Bible were basically like not savages. That wasn't the word. Uncivilized. And there was another word as well, and I can't remember what it was. And I brought it, and they basically said, "Oh, you're a bigot for saying that." And my comment was, I'd call it ignorance, but I wouldn't define that as being bigoted. To be bigoted, you'd have to prove that she had hatred of every character in the Bible, and that this was the situation. And for one thing, you can't even prove that the Bible is any more than a work of fiction.
Yeah, you'd have to demonstrate that the characters are true.
She's hating people individually. She's just saying they're depicted in this way, which is very different. Which is ignorant. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But bigoted. Yeah. No.
This is like when I jokingly call Steve a racist towards me as being a goblin. Yeah. Can you be racist against a fictional race?
What's the name of the YouTuber the Christian who posted that? Because his name is eluding me at the moment.
The Christian who posted it? I'm not sure. I've seen that called them bigoted, because I think it was
they called them bigoted. Well, what was his name?
I don't even remember who that was. Godless.
No, it
was one of the. No. The person who posted the original tweet is the.
Yeah, but
it was that woman, that Godless. It's not Godless.
He's been on Sixpack. Dallas. Yeah, it was Dallas Wade, who posted this, and I'm like, Dallas, you should know better than this. I mean, you're one of the more moderate Christian apologists out there, and yet you're going to say something is bigoted just because you don't like this person's take on something.
Yeah.
That's not what the term bigoted is used for.
There's something also about like, I struggle because you see people like R and Raw pushing stuff like that, that people in the past are uncivilized and stupid, and it's like, it seems like kind of an unfair judgment. And also, what do you define as civilized?
Yeah.
Because like these become like broader topics of like
it comes down, I think, to people looking at things like that and judging people in the past by our modern standards, which you can't really do.
Well, even besides that, go look at a religious state like like over in the Middle East. Does that qualify as uncivilized because of they're pushing religious doctrine into their politics and to the way that they treat women and gay people.
By our Western sense of sensibilities.
Exactly.
But to them, it doesn't count that way. So you also have to take the context of what those people live in. But that doesn't mean that the things within it are wrong, because I think despite the fact that Christians would say that atheists can have no moral compass, it's entirely wrong, because you can
misunderstanding
of
morality.
At that point, once you're looking at morality, you're looking at what's better in general for all the people within the society. So if your rules in your society are downtroding one section of the society for the betterment of another, I could say that is immoral, and I think I'm pretty well just in saying that.
Moral philosophy is very complicated when you start getting into the nitty gritty of it. Because
now is not the time to talk about that. But using words like bigot out of place like that
is problematic at best.
Lowers the effect of a word like that. And I get the same thing with when there are trans people who will throw around transphobia as a word that you can just throw at anybody, when it should be kept for people who are actually transphobic.
Well, that actually goes to the that's one of the reasons why I was so tentative to call what Unirock was saying and doing transphobic. I was just like, well, I think he just means this, and I don't want to misuse the word. It was the context that even I didn't have, even though it was about me, that changed my mind about it. But he's going around and somebody tried to come at Steve, and Steve was like, what the get out of here. And the person was like, well, go by she, her now. And he was like, okay, I don't care. Fuck off.
I know who you're talking about.
And then Unirock goes and tweets out and says, oh, see, this is how Steve responds to a trans person. And it's like, it had nothing to do with that, you fucking asshole. And by doing that, you're undermining trans people in general.
If the person you'll talk to you don't realize is trans, then you're not in sort.
It's happened twice to Steve.
I'm going to be completely honest. Some people's nicks, it's almost impossible to tell what their gender is unless, of course, they've got it written in there. So if you get misgendered on Twitter and you don't have your preferred pronouns in there for everyone to see, then don't get all pissy about it. And
don't expect that necessarily everyone's gone to look at your profile ahead of time, because a lot of people
unless
haven't.
It's actually in your name, or you've got a specifically gendered name, then don't expect people to get it. I mean,
well, it comes to a point where you start
Jen's
suspecting
on Twitter. I got pissed off a couple of times when people would misgender me, because I'm like,
but that's done on purpose. If you already
if people do it now when I'm polymathic.
Yeah.
What the hell? It's like,
there's also a degree of
that person is.
There's also a degree of people who do it on purpose. They make confusing on purpose to try and catch people that they don't like, so they can say that they're being transphobic when it's like,
and there are definitely people who deliberately go out their way to misgender people, and those people are being transphobic.
Absolutely. Yes,
but there is a difference between all those things, and you can't just get upset up front at
and some people are ignorant. Some people just don't know that you've changed.
I've misgendered people. Does that mean I'm transphobic? No, because people do it. I mean, especially if it's somebody who's recently transitioned. I have misgendered Granny's son on at least 2 occasions to his face on the chat, and it's not that. It's just that we'd learnt about it afterwards, and my brain took a while to get it right.
And he's only transitioned socially. He hasn't, he cut his hair.
There's no.
He tries, but it is difficult to tell.
The presentation, right? Because that's a whole another thing.
Especially originally,
how are you presenting yourself to society? Are you just getting people? Because that's something that.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't respect people's genders. You should.
Of course, absolutely. There's no reason not to call somebody. There's absolutely no reason not to call somebody what they want to be called. No reason whatsoever. I don't care.
I have an uncle.
I don't call Unirock Jason. There have been very few occasions where I've called him Jason, and that's only for clarification. I don't call him Jason, not because I give two shits about this doxing bullshit that he thinks he's doing. I call him Jason, or I call him Unirock because that's what he wants to be called. So
Yeah.
Right.
call him Unirock. Who gives a shit? I don't think people are necessarily even wrong for calling him Jason because they actually just don't respect him enough to give a shit. Which I also think is fair because that's based on his presentation.
Right.
Jen, did you hear that I was misgendered by a medical professional I've been working
I
with?
did. I saw that tweet of yours, and they ended up getting. You made a complaint, and they ended up getting fired.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
they
wow.
were fired.
It
won't
was malicious and ongoing before
Oh.
Jenny reported it.
They
To be
wouldn't tell
honest,
me when
it was.
I asked. They said we're not allowed to discuss employment issues. You know, well, okay, then I get what you mean.
Yeah, Jenny didn't ask for this person to be fired; they just weren't fired. But yeah, it was malicious and ongoing, despite Jenny having a talk with them and having a talk to the people above. This particular therapist was ongoing with this deliberate misgendering, and it is deliberate in this case.
Sometimes I feel like my expectations for humanity is too high.
Right, because I am
don't
finding
get it.
that
Even
horrific
if you
from a
don't,
medical
even if you're
professional.
somebody who for whatever reason doesn't accept trans people as the gender that they are, fine. There's still no reason to be an arsehole. It is not hard for you to use correct terms and use the person's actual name, because by not doing it, you're just being an arsehole.
Can I maybe express a little bit of the philosophy that I have around that time of the month? So
Sure.
I have trans people on that time of the month.
Mm-hmm.
I have trans women on. I look forward to hopefully having a trans
Your
man
last one had Nikki on, didn't it?
Yes, I had Nikki on,
Yeah.
and it's a that time of the month episode, which is it's a joke about periods.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't exclude trans people from coming onto the show. It doesn't even
Right.
exclude men from coming onto the show sometimes, because I had Mr. Brass come on before too. It's the point is that there's a lot of misogyny, but there's also just a lot of men, which isn't a bad thing, in the sphere that we work in the sphere that a lot of us have these kinds of conversations. And what I wanted to do was just create a space that had a more female heavy voice. Again,
It's actually
that
hard
is,
to do that.
and it does not exclude trans women, because why would it? I'm looking for a female perspective on things,
I mean,
which
Exactly.
and trans women are part of that period. End of that time of the month. Period. End of sentence. That's it. Now, does that mean that they had to go through this particular biological change? Does that mean they had to go particularly through female puberty or whatever? No, it just means that their experience is different. It's gone from this to this, and
And
they
I
are
would like
having
to point out
experiences
that
as a
every
female.
woman's experience of growing up is different.
Exactly.
And
So-
not every cis woman has periods. So
Right.
saying that period makes you a woman is probably the most misogynistic thing that I could hear out of another woman's mouth.
Exactly, because there are many women that can't have children. They go through that process, and it's just wrong on all
And there are
levels.
many
then
women
you want to
who
take the other
don't
side of
want to
that?
have children, and there's many
Yeah.
women who don't want to have children and can't go through the process of getting that dealt with
Right.
because fucking patriarchal bullshit, I guess.
No,
Because
don't even get me
you're 30 years old and you haven't had a kid yet, so I can't do this surgery on you.
And I'd like to take the other side of this too.
because I legislated
I'm
your
trans,
uterus.
but I'm
damn
also
it.
intersexed, so I did have periods.
Mhm.
So fuck you on that
Right.
one. But that's not what made me a woman. It's because it's who I am.
It breaks into the conversation about what is a woman. What is that? And the thing is that there's so much, like, gender is so fucking useless. Like, it's
It
so
is,
useless.
That's what you got it right there. Because discussing what is a woman is a terrifying subject for a very large part of what we deal with on a daily basis.
Being a woman is a group experience. It is something you have to have been. You have to have experienced. You have to have had that group group shared experience of knowing what misogyny is, of knowing what it is to, and I'm not saying it being on the receiving end of misogyny makes you a woman either, but you have to not go through, you have to have had some of those shared experiences, I think. Right. But it's still even more complicated than that. Because just because you haven't had it doesn't mean that you're not your internal how you feel about yourself isn't.
Well, the ideal is that you
for being a man, I guess. But
what women would look forward to is a time, in general, is a time and place where women are not going through the things that kind of help define you as a woman right now, which is kind of a weird concept. So it's a situation where, outside of biologically, like for medical purposes and for the sake of like if you are transitioning and you need to change your hormones, stuff like that, gender socially is pretty well to the point where it's no longer relevant. It might have been at one point, but now it is.
I so disagree with that, Chess.
No, tell me why.
I've used this rap before, so some people have definitely heard this. The gender binary has existed for what, 10,000, 20,000 years, maybe more?
Forever, yeah.
Okay. It's not something that is just our awareness. It's something that is completely ingrained into our very beings, regardless of our society, our culture, or anything. The gender binary, and we're not talking biological sex, we're talking gender binary, is always going to exist. I that's what I believe. It's okay that and good that our generations currently walking the earth are trying to change that, and with the different pronouns and the different levels of acceptance and stuff. But it is going to take generations for that to take place. 3, 4, 5 generations before people start just internalizing that, and it's going to take the whole world doing that before it really.
And we missed Esther's super chat, so when done, Jenny, we'll read that.
Something automatic. Go ahead with the super chat if you want.
Do you want to read it, Jade?
Yep. Esther says, "Hello, ladies and everyone." Hi, Esther.
Hi, Esther. And next time we're getting you on one of these, Esther.
Yes.
I don't disagree that the binary exists and will exist for a long period of time. I think there's going to be like,
I agree with that.
I'm in the position, my general position on this is that anytime there's like a wrong going on, there will be an overcorrection before it kind of falls back, and it should be that way. Which is why you see like, we need a huge influx of like everybody in all of these shows. We need to have like an over saturation of like black people,
LGBT people in
shows
movies
and media.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Media needs to have a representation of people that is consistent with how it is in society.
Well, it will never be that way. So what it has to do is it has to overcorrect and then bring it back, and then overcorrect and then bring it back. So basically what you want is like, Morgan Freeman as God. A lot of the times in the 80s, there was like this stereotypical black man who has all the answers and is leading around this bumbling white guy. Right. Good. There's nothing wrong with that until it turns into a negative stereotype. Once it becomes a negative stereotype and you're typecasting all these black actors, then it's a problem. However, it is a problem that is trying to correct itself.
Jess, I didn't get to sum up and make.
Sorry. Please.
What we're going through right now is and why I see so much difficulty in people knowing how to behave and how to refer to people and getting persecuted for mistakes when maybe that's inappropriate or maybe it's not inappropriate is that to break the gender binary, we have to embrace the gender binary to establish what the gender binary isn't. Okay. Right. And what it is. And so, you get somebody who's an NB and they say, oh no, my pronouns are they, them. But how do we know that person is a they, them if they don't say something? Like Jen was saying, if they don't have it posted on Twitter or something like that, or maybe you said it doesn't matter.
Oh, certainly. I agree with that.
But then they say, can't you look at me and tell? Well, then you look at them to tell,
always.
and you say, well, how is it that they are an NB? Because they're on today they're taking up typically female a gender stereo.
Half the time, I look like a 12-year-old boy.
And then the next day they're taking up. Yeah.
Now we know what Cheshire's gender identity is. She's a 12-year-old boy. No, I shouldn't have said that because Uni's got to clip that.
but see what I mean? That person has to appeal to this known and ingrained binary stereotype to establish who they are. I mean, if you're NB, what are you being NB from? Or
Maybe I wasn't clear. I agree with all of that. Maybe I wasn't quite clear. What I mean is socially, when it comes to interactions with people, there's no reason to identify somebody's gender right away. You don't need to. When you're talking about somebody, there's no need to say, oh, so the woman mechanic, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What does them being a woman have?
Not so much gendering people, but gendering the things what we do is a thing.
Right, yeah. So as we start removing, we don't need to say that mechanic is a woman. It's not part of the conversation. Unless it is part of the conversation, it's not necessary. So what you say is, hey, the mechanic checked out my car, and you just don't assume whatever the gender is of that mechanic. Because it's not relevant information. Gender is one of the
assumption of gender, not the gender.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think there's any reason to lose gender.
I think we'll also lose a lot of what is considered gender norms. So you'll see more guys who are still guys who are more than happy to wear a dress, and you'll find that clothes.
Stop gendering clothing. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Clothing. I think it will eventually happen, and I think it should happen.
How can we possibly break that when we're using the binary to define what's not binary?
Yeah, that's an entirely different question. Will we degender things in general?
Because there's a difference between identifying an individual person and identifying a line or a type of clothing in its entirety, or a color in its entirety, or a video game, for example. Video games don't need to be gender specific. Anybody can play them.
Characters within them don't need to be, as we now know.
But the only way two strangers on the street know who each other is by what they see as they walk past.
Sure.
And they take that cue based on their 20,000 years of ingrained binary sexuality. Okay. Now I'm not saying.
Oh, and I so agree, Virillion. Pockets for all. Yes, please. $5 super chat.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's what we do. Okay. And it's fine if somebody is NB. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not how they appear is not predicated on gender until they say that, well, can't you tell that I'm presenting female today, or I'm presenting male today? What do they mean by that? Like, if they're presenting, so they're looking a certain way, which means they're taking the binary and saying, see, this is the binary, this is the male, this is the female, and I'm over here today, so therefore the binary doesn't exist. What?
Well, the point isn't to say the binary doesn't exist, right? The point is to say, hey, yeah, this is ingrained into us, but it's causing our society more problems than it's benefiting us anymore. So why are we keeping it? It's just to get rid of it. Now, it doesn't mean that, it just means that your interaction with the person that you walk by on the street, their gender is irrelevant to, like, how they identify is irrelevant to that interaction. Your waitress or waiter's clothing.
Get it wrong. If you talk to a turf.
Until you make the mistake in addressing them, and then every piece of shit comes down on your head.
Yeah, but you don't need to use him or her to address anybody. You don't have to use sir or madam to address anybody.
You can use they, them for anyone.
Excuse me, may I speak with you for a moment?
Well, sure.
No gender.
And then you can ask them their name, and that's even a nicer way to address people.
Go after the...
But the reality is, we do. And so, and all I'm talking about is that what's going on today, and how people are overreacting and mislabeling one as being transphobic or whatever, or NB-phobic, because of the pronoun they mistakenly use, or
if it's a genuine mistake misusing a pronoun, then it's not transphobic. That's just ridiculous.
These things are going to exist and happen for hundreds of years yet. Because
I agree.
First generation, we haven't even been doing doing this.
Oh,
gender
and there's going to be a kickback
for
on this.
20
There already
years.
is. Look at the UK.
You know, so
Look at Turf
It's a
Island.
pendulum.
There's a huge kickback. Yeah.
Every societal shift is a
Right.
pendulum. It'll start here, it'll go over here, it'll swing back, it'll stay in the middle for a little bit, then it'll go back, and then it'll be either another issue or the same issue or a kind of mix, and then it'll swing and it'll go back and forth.
I would like to say if we didn't have fundamentalist religion, this would be a lot easier.
oh god,
Mhm.
yes. Oh god, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier if there were not dogmas interfering in general.
Yes, I
Also,
agree.
although I would agree that that's probably one of the heavier-handed ones currently.
Religion is the poison
All
of
right.
man.
I would like to say we've been going for an hour and a half, and we did this last time because it's very late for Chris, and he's in the back trying to run things from the back. So
We've been going for 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Two
Did I
and
say
a half
1.5?
hours.
2.5.
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
I've still got a migraine, which is why I haven't been
Sorry,
quite as
Jen.
thingy as what I normally am, which has probably been good for the stream, to be honest.
No.
But yeah, this has been an awesome conversation, and I want to have more of it. So,
So do
I
I.
might have to
Let's
talk.
do time.
I might have to talk to Chris about. Well, I mean, Jade and I have our new show coming up where we're actually going to be discussing stuff like this and get together our own panels. Hopefully in the next week or so. So we may drag you guys.
Me
all that
and
on
you
to
are gonna have
do
to
that.
work together and
Yeah.
share the whammons
share
around.
the things.
But-
I
but
know.
Share the
I know,
women.
But
Yeah,
not-
share the
Get a woman
whammons.
around.
don't bring
And I
that steam
also,
guy.
and I didn't say it at the beginning, and I wish I had. I want to say an enormous thank you to Chesh. I contacted Chesh 11 hours ago to ask if she could save my bacon and step in on this show because Amber was that's Ed's wife was originally going to be on, and as Ed had said earlier, she's in hospital at the moment. She's fine, by the way, people, but she's unavailable for the show, so I had to beg and plead to Chesh, could you please come on so we could have a full panel. Thank you.
I
so
don't
much
think I made you
for
beg
the last
too
minute,
hard.
Chesh. No, you didn't. You're actually pretty good about it, but thank you so much for that, Chesh. And
Yeah,
thank you to Jenny,
anytime.
because I didn't give Jenny much notice about this either, so thank you to Jenny. And I'm sorry you had so many technical difficulties tonight. And weren't
Yeah, it's
able
too
to
bad.
be here for the whole chat, but we'll definitely make sure
Goddamn
that you're
Twitter.
yeah, we'll definitely
Yes.
make sure you're on for longer next time. And again, thank you, Claire, for being here, and Granny for being here. I'm so glad
No.
to have your lawyer knowledge at the beginning was absolutely brilliant. But it's always
It
wonderful
was.
to have you on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
bring you on if you don't mind coming and chatting with me more. You know, you might catch some flack for it, as we discussed, but I would love to chat with you more a little bit about some of the crazy litigation I've been looking at.
I don't think Granny would catch flack. Everyone loves Granny.
Yeah.
Good. You don't
No.
deserve to catch any flack.
Well,
No,
thank
you don't, because. And I don't know if you want to add anything there, Jade.
No, this has been a great stream. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming on. And yeah, I hope we can do this more often. I love being able to talk to the other women in the community that kind of go through the same things. And you ladies have all done this far longer than me, so it's wonderful to listen to your stories and kind of how you've gotten through things. And this is a great stream, so thank you all for joining us for this.
Oh, thank you, Jade.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. I woke up so early. I took a nap.
I
It
know.
was great.
I know.
I got so much day left. I don't even know what I'm gonna do.
That's
I
great,
gotta
Josh.
I gotta stream at 4, but other than that, I'm like,
I know.
nice.
I
I'm gonna
found
do some
taking a nap.
dishes.
We'll see.
I want to say thank you to the chat who stood with us for most of the show. We've had quite a few viewers throughout the entire show, which has been awesome. Thank you for putting up with us and for all your comments in the chat. I've been watching as many of them as I can and commenting where I could. And you guys have absolutely been amazing. And please keep an eye out because I'm assuming sometime during the week on Wednesday night, I assume Jay will be doing more conspiracies. Hopefully, if I can get myself organized enough and I'm feeling well enough, because I'm getting my second Pfizer shot on Sunday, and if I react the way this time that I did last time, I might be taken out for a few days. So
Have
I
you
may not be on
guys-
your stream on Sunday, Claire, because it depends how I feel.
Have you
Okay.
guys done a stream like just explaining what a cult is?
I was
We did
thinking
do one a
about
while
that
ago,
actually.
but we should do
That
that
would be
again.
good.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be?
that's
Wouldn't
a good
that
idea.
Telltale's done a few.
Wouldn't a cult be
Yep.
Unirock's audience?
Listen, I'm
Whoa.
not
I
saying
didn't want to say that.
I'm not saying who may or who may not be, but there have been a lot of people throwing that word around, so it might be interesting to do a video about what a cult actually is and see who checks what boxes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There have
Wink,
been
wink.
talks about it a few times too.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there should be that stream. Hopefully, Jade's and my stream will start this week. If not, it'll be the week after. I know Jeff's put in the chat that it's going to be called Jade and Jen's Throat Punch Show. I don't think we're going to go with that for the title. I think the plan is to call it Therapy Session. And that,
All right, next
that's
time
what
I'll
we're going
threaten to throat punch you.
Oh boy.
So expect to have that come out soon. Aside from that, Granny, have you got something coming out over the weekend?
No, I don't. I went up to Virginia to see my daughter for the first time in 2 years because of the pandemic, and so I took this week off.
Fair enough.
Next week I am planning to do a stream, Crazy Church Stories. I'm still trying to put that together.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that
If
sounds
I
fun.
know you
anyone's got-
posted that. If I'm around, I'll be there. So
okay.
I've just been so busy lately. Chash, I assume you've got a stream coming up tomorrow where you
I've
that
got one
day?
today for
got one
Dumbfeck
today.
Friday.
Dump Friday.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna sleep. I might have to see if I can stay awake or something.
Dumbfeck Fridays until 4. So
Right.
I don't know if you're gonna
Yeah,
be
so
able to.
4 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I'm looking at the comments from my my crazy video because some of those comments are like hilarious and they're like, you're not going to respond to this,
You're
so
one
I'm like,
about
well,
the web of crazy people.
yes, yeah. Then there's Saturday. Do I have something planned on Saturday or is that Sunday? I'm big braining. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something on Saturday, but I've forgotten what it is. I think it's not till next Saturday that I'm looking at having another that time of the month. I think that's on the 4th. But Sunday, I'm going to be doing another Keeping Up with Katie Joy because she goes so fast and goes from like thing to thing to thing to thing that I'm just like, I'm doing my best, lady. I'm trying to follow where you're going, and I don't know where we are anymore. I don't know what year it is. I don't know what's happening. Just bonkers.
And Claire, you've got Midnight Madness.
I do on Saturday night. Well, it's technically
Sunday
Sunday
for me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it'll be mayhem again. I don't know what
It's
we're
always
doing.
mayhem.
It is.
That's what
I
it
look
feels
forward to
like.
it. You know what? I'm very excited that we have gentlemen in. Well,
It was
not
good
exactly
last time.
gentlemen. We have
there was as
naughty
many guys
gentlemen.
as there was girls, and it was actually good.
It was
Nice.
good, and in the chat, it's getting more balanced. And like I put a call out for men, and they answered, and they're real men. They are actually able to have conversation. No, I'm serious.
I put a call out for men, and I got real men.
I got real. No. Go ahead, quote me. I don't give a damn. But they are actually real men, able to talk about issues. They don't get embarrassed. They're able to put their opinions out there and be respectful. They're not defensive at all, and I am enjoying it so much. So keep throwing them at
men
me.
in tights now in my head.
I'm really enjoying it even more. It's even better than duck porn. I'll tell you that. It's definitely better than duck porn.
Well, they've got real penises. The men, they're not.
Well, yeah, there's that benefit too. It's not so bad, but I'm just. Jen, stop! It's not my fault. It's not Chris. I'm sorry. It's Jen. It's not me. It's Jen. I'm not taking the blame.
You can't
for this
prove
anymore.
that.
I'm going. I know.
We should try to do this show again, except try to get an all incel audience.
Jen, I just met you, but you're gonna. Why, Jen? Why? I just met you. Why? Why? We need to talk. Why would we do that to ourselves?
It would just
Seriously.
be fun to see them lose their penises.
No, but that's just the thing. They're not coming with them anyway, Jen. It's fruitless.
Oh,
It's like, it's like, oh.
We have another
would not.
$2 super chat from Darth Dawkins. Real men like me who love Jesus.
I think that I would not be surprised to see another incel episode or two over on Non Sequitur Show once we get it back.
Is that
Just
an
saying?
admission from Darth of homosexuality?
No, it's not the real Darth.
I know.
It's not the real Darth.
It's
You can tell because the post is in Australian dollars, and Darth wouldn't be posting in Australian dollars. We think we know who it is, but we'll let him have his fun.
Yes, if non-sec does an incel show, count me in.
All right, sold. I'll
yeah, I do that too.
All right, I think we're gonna have to have like a couple.
Say, I'll
we
have
have
a
to
suck
rotate.
of that sausage, but I don't think that's the right euphemism to use there.
It might be. That seems to be the main issue. To be fair,
Yeah,
if you're willing to sacrifice yourself for like the good of incel kind, so they're no longer.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. Like incels is such a different beast of a conversation, right? And it's like you want to talk about misogyny.
I like that. Darth Dawkins is claiming I use a VPN. That's why it's in Australian dollars.
See, I don't mind like parody that's actually good, funny, wholesome parody. There's no like a hate or vitriol in this. You're not saying like, oh, my sister. Like that would be like, okay, no, that's not cool. And it's obvious parody, not like so good. There was one person on Twitter that was so good at impersonating Katie Joy that we started getting No, there was another one. It was like that account got nuked ages ago, but it was so good at it that it was just like, okay, you need to put something in your name that makes it a little bit more obvious that it's not actually KJ, because we're starting to actually get confused as to what she's saying, and what she's saying alone is already confusing enough.
Bonkers?
Yeah.
Confusing bonkers.
Yes. That's the only reason why I'm covering it. Like, the reason I'm trying to follow what she's saying is because we regularly get accused of not addressing this thing or that thing or this thing or that thing. So I'm trying to like condense it into like a YouTube video where it's like, okay, I'm going to look at her Twitter from this past week and we're going to see what she's saying and we're going to address it and we're going to talk about it. And then I cry at the end of the show.
That's what you get for crawling down wormholes. Jenny, I assume people can catch you this week over on Perps, and if anything else we can manage to drag you into.
Well, we already finished Perps for the week, and that'll be next week.
I said next week.
Oh yes, definitely. There's supposedly a movie night tonight at 10:30 Eastern time.
Oh, I forgot about movie night.
And I'll be on whatever else I can dig up and destroy. Yes.
Awesome. As for me, tomorrow night or in my time, or tomorrow morning for you guys in the US, almost a Dr. Matt and I will be doing another Schrodinger's bathtub, where a grumpy old dude Eddie is going to be our guest, and we're going to be talking about the bad science of Matt Powell. The look on Cheshire's face.
That fucking guy.
Yeah, that's gonna.
You want to talk about an incel?
Yeah, there's some content. I gotta watch that.
Completely lost it. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
There are some people on the internet that I don't or do interact with. So, like, sometimes it can go either way, or that I've never have interact with it, that I just look at it and I go, I don't know what to do with you, because it's like I feel like I would have a conversation with you, but there would be it would just be you trying to talk down to me the whole time, and until I put my foot down and then you went and cried about it somewhere else. Like, that's what happened with who was that? David Smalley. He like talked down to me the whole stream. I put my foot down and was like, okay, like, I've been nice to you. Now you're being a dick. Come on. And then he went and cried about it on
them. Is that if they're misogynistic enough, all they're going to do is talk down to you.
I almost think it's a little bit also like an ego issue, That is like sometimes it's misogyny, but also a lot of, especially because there's a lot of like sort of built up misogyny within a lot of religion. That it's part of the dogma that when somebody goes from being religious to being atheist, they don't actually get rid of a lot of the underlying dogma.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's for a struggle for anybody who comes out of anything that's a bit cultish. In that is losing. You might move away from the cult, but it takes time to lose the entanglements of that cult. I'm not saying everything that people come out to is exactly a cult, but you can be in an organization that can be cult-like, and then getting away from those entanglements is just so difficult. And there's that level of indoctrination, even if it wasn't intended, that is there. Even if you come from a religious background that wasn't heavy with the indoctrination, there's still indoctrination.
Yes.
It's amazing how little things can affect you, especially when you're a kid, when you've grown up in it, and that's what's so hard to deal with.
And some of it's like not even, most of it's not intentional. A lot of it is like, the problem is that there's an assumption, or there's a shift from one dogma to the other, or they focus on the large dogma and shift that to something else, but don't see a lot of like the inherent, rude? Just because you're a man doesn't mean you get to overtalk me. You don't even have any balls. There's now he wants butt scratches. I see how it is. Need. Take. What do you give back? Get a job. You're adopted. Listen, I'm taking up too much of your time. Let's get out of here. This is a whole other conversation we can have about like the inherent misogyny that's kind of shifting from, and like ego issues that shift from one dogma to either another dogma or never actually gets, you don't get rid of it because you don't necessarily even realize it's there, which is I think why you see a lot of misogyny. If you look at I think Brina, I remember who it was, talking about the misogyny within the ACA, Atheist Plus TM community, which I'm not part of their group, but I am an atheist, so I don't like getting lumped in with that garbage.
No, I agree, Trish. I think we will wind it now because that was for 3 hours, and Chris is going to get shitty in the back. Again, thank you to all of you for being here. It's been an amazing show. Thank you again to everybody in the chat, and wherever you are around this great big world, have a wonderful day.
Man in the background is trying to shut us down.
And we'll catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.